bespoke radio for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
I need your help to get to the year 1985.
You're listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Well. How you doing? How you doing? Let's crackin', everybody. Yeah, man. Fade to Black. Bespoke radio for the masses. Today is Tuesday, February 9th. 40 days into the new year. 325 days left. We are live from downtown Burbank, California. That's right. I'd like to welcome everybody listening all around the world, all across the United States. Hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth, up and down, east and west, north and south, far and near. This is Fade to Black. What is up? Fired up? You know what it is. It's Whitley Strieber on Fade to Black for KJCR, the Game Changer Network, and KGRA, The Planet. I am your oh-so-humble host, Jimmy Church. What is up, everybody? In a great mood. It's been a great week. Last week, this week, the week before. Life is good. How you doing? All right. Man, I'm still recovering from the big weekend up in Big Bear. We're going to be talking about that for a while, aren't we? Great time. The new dates were just released, by the way. It's going to be August, I think it's 12th, 13th, and 14th. Alien Mountain Fest up in Big Bear. Mark your calendars. Let's go. Let's get this show cracking because today is Happy Extraterrestrial Culture Day. Did you know that? Today is Happy E.T. Day. Yeah, the origins of this holiday began back in 2003 when Representative Daniel R. Foley submitted a proposal to the New Mexico legislature to set aside a special day for the year to celebrate, and I'm quoting here, right, to the legislature, quoting, to celebrate and honor all past, present, and future extraterrestrial visitors, end quote. How cool is that? Foley was from Roswell. All right, so happy E.T. Culture Day, everybody. All right, going to be great. Fired up. Tonight, we have very special guest Whitley Strieber with us, and we're going to be talking about his latest works, The Supernatural, and that was just released. We're going to talk about that. And also, we're going to talk about the communion, solving the communion enigma, which describes new breakthroughs that could solve the close encounter mystery once and for all. So we're going to go over that and his new book, The Supernatural. And tomorrow night, crazy that we're going to do Whitley tonight, and tomorrow night, Russell Targ, right here, and Lance Mungia are going to be here covering their new documentary called Third Eye Spies about the CIA's remote viewing program, you know, the SRI. Wow, two great nights. Man, pinch me, right? Okay, and then after all that, we'll do open lines night on Thursday, Fader night. And then this Friday and Saturday, I'll be hosting Coast to Coast AM. And Friday night is Walter Cruttenden, and then open lines after that over at Coast. You know how we do it on Friday nights. I'm sitting in for George Norrie. He's taking a break. And then Saturday nights, my guest will be, I'm going old school, Vic Mignonia. Yes. I'm doing it. I'm going to have Vic on for the first hour. Captain Kirk, and then Ron Felber and the Hesses from the Mojave incident. This is a worldwide premiere. The Hesses were the couple in the book, the Mojave incident, that have never gone public since 1991. So we're going to do that on Saturday at Coast. Great stuff. And then I got a little surprised because the Wednesday after that, you'll probably listen to Coast. That's fine. But the Wednesday after that, we will have the Hesses right back here on Fade to Black. And, Coast is one thing, Fade to Black is another. Okay, so it's going to be great. We're going to have the Hesses twice in a week. All right? Oh, man. Oh, I just got off the phone with Ronnie McMullen right before the show up at Life Change Tea. He's like, dude, man, how's that bag of colostrum treating you? I'm like, dude, that's a life changer. I mean, more people need to know about that. Need to change the name. And need to change the name. God's Gift to You is what that stuff should be called. Amazing. Yeah, we're doing the powder right now. We have the vanilla flavored powder. It's incredible. And you can get yours right now. Go to getthetea.com. Get that colostrum powder bag. I'm serious. Even if you don't have anything going on, you just need to do it. It's absolutely amazing. Getthetea.com and just use the promo code Jimmy and you can get free shipping on your order. And Ronnie's always got great Fade or Not specials over on his website. Go to getthetea.com. All right. Let's see. Where are we? Oh, yeah, I can't forget. And I'll get some new stuff up on this right away. We'll start this tomorrow. But after Coast this week, this is the schedule. Then we come back. We'll do 4 more nights of Fade to Black live. And then you're actually going to get 5 nights of Fade to Black next week. Because Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday, we're going to be broadcasting live from the Conscious Life Expo. And I want to stress this with everybody. You can do a couple of different things. Of course, Fade to Black is going to be broadcasting live from there, and you can listen to everything at jimmychurchradio.com and all of KGRA and so forth. That's easy. That's free. But if you can't make it to the Conscious Life Expo, they will be live streaming the entire event. And you can get your live streaming on right now. If you go over to Jimmy Church Radio and click on the live streaming banner that's there, you can go and get your live streaming from Conscious Life, okay? And we're going to be doing a few different things there, and you'll be able to see it all. How cool is that, okay? So that's going on February 19th through the 22nd. We have a full summer in front of us of different conferences because right after Conscious Life, then we're doing Contact in the Desert, and that's in June. And then July, we're doing Roswell, the Roswell Festival, and that's July 1st. And then right after that in August, we're back in Big Bear for that conference. So full slate of summer conferences coming up. Pretty cool, actually. And the best part of all of that is hanging out with all of you. I had... one of the things, I didn't talk about this last night on the show, but one of the things at Conscious Life, at Alien Snowfest that happened, and I think somebody mentioned it in Twitter. I think I saw this either yesterday or today, about the amount of contactees and experiencers that were in Big Bear. I had people coming up to me all day long telling me about their experiences when they were kids, different things, and it was incredible. I mean, I got a life's worth of experiences. I should have started writing a book in Big Bear because it was great. And that's one of the best things about going to these conferences is hanging out with all of you and just sharing stories and talking about experiences. Absolutely incredible. So there you go. We got a full summer of conferences in front of us. Rita's right now going, I don't know if I'm going to survive until September. But, yeah, it is busy, but it's all fun. We do it all for you. Let's get this show cracking. We got a lot to do tonight. Today, Joe Pesci is 73 years old. And I was thinking today, I was going, man, Pesci, what's his best film? And I couldn't And you know, I got to go with My Cousin Vinny, by the way. But that's a tough call, isn't it? Casino. That's a tough one. But Joe Pesci, happy birthday, 73. Carole King is 74. Still got the pipes. Mia Farrow is 71. So I have these three greats here. Joe Pesci and Carole King, Mia Farrow, all in their 70s. It doesn't feel that way to me, but they are. Mia Farrow today is 71. And so this is the Twitter question. Let's do this really quick. I'm going to go with this. Mia Farrow, Rosemary's Baby, or The Omen. Think about that. What was they both extremely cool movies for the right reasons. What was the better one? That's a tough call. Mia Farrow's got that in spades. She's going to be at the actors' retirement home, sitting around playing pinochle, and and she's going to be able to go, well, I did Rosemary's Baby and The Omen. That pretty much trumps all cards, doesn't it? So, what's the better? Yeah, Goodfellas, Space Boy comes in with that. Yeah, pretty good call. Rosemary's Baby or The Omen? Light up Twitter right now. All right, let's go. Follow me on Twitter, @JChurchRadio. Hashtag F2B is the sandbox. And I see some new people in here tonight. Listen, if you hear my voice right now and you're in Twitter and you're not using hashtag F2B, you are not in the sandbox. You got to come over here and hang out with us. Michael Anderson said Rosemary's Baby. And Michael, I knew that you would say that. That's why I love you. The Omen, Stargazer. Yeah, okay. I'm with you. That's almost a coin toss. Dennis comes in with The Omen. Tough call. Two great films. All right, tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. He is in the batter's box, by the way. He's right here. And it's going to be a great open-ended conversation tonight with Whitley. So get ready. It's going to be great. I don't know if we're going to have time for phone calls. And I'm going to leave that up to Whitley. But if the conversation's going where it's probably going to go, we may not have that kind of time. But I know everybody would like to call in and say hello to Whitley, okay? And if you do, because we're going to be bombed with phone calls, make the phone call short, and allow everybody else to get in if we do that and open up the phone lines, okay? Tomorrow night, Russell Targ is here. On this day in history, 1964, America meets the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. Hard to believe. Is that 50 years ago? Holy crap. Fader fact. Now, don't get upset with me. This is a fact. Don't get mad. Worldwide, women earn $18 trillion annually. That's right. But they spend $28 trillion. Don't kill the messenger. So today, excuse me. Coffee. Today, I was thinking that when I read fiction, I go hardcore. And I go way out to crazy land when I read fiction, when I pick up a book. I'm very selective on what I like to read. But I go to crazy land. I love Clive Cussler, Dirk Pitt, read every single book of Clive's. Love Dirk Pitt. I want to escape. I want to go somewhere else. I want to disconnect, and I want to have some fun. I got to tell you, a little Sidney Sheldon or Elmore Leonard doesn't hurt either. That's right. I said it. I did. I'll go there. Right? I enjoy that stuff. But what I really get into is nonfiction. Books, documentaries. I like the black and white. Just the facts, ma'am. That's me. Two books came along that changed my life. The Interrupted Journey by John Fuller, about the experiences of Betty and Barney Hill, and The Andreessen Affair by Raymond Fowler, based on the information obtained during hypnotic regression of Betty Andreessen. I've talked about it many times in the show and with Betty directly. And, about her ET contact and abduction. And The Interrupted Journey was great, Betty and Barney Hill. Great book. One of the best. But the Andreessen affair scared the crap out of me. I read it all alone. I know I've told this story before on the air. But it's true. I read it alone. And, in my bedroom. Alone. And each night I would literally keep one eye on the window or the door in my room. I did. I really did. Somehow finishing the book with the other eye on the flipping pages. The book was terrifying. Almost a horror story. And if you haven't read it, go and get it. But it was nonfiction. A true story. And that is what's scary. Seriously. A few years later, Communion came out. And I had heard about it from friends. It was a bestseller. And back then, if you were around when that book came out, people were talking about it. A lot of people. TV, newspapers, book reviews. It was everywhere. Communion was everywhere. And one day, I was at a friend's house, and there it was. And like on a coffee table, hardcover, with that cover of doom, just looking at me. And I was like, dude, Communion. I asked him. And he's like, yeah, man, I just finished it. He picks it up and he gives it to me. I might have borrowed it, which doesn't really matter. I don't remember, but he certainly never got the book back. Okay? Let's make that perfectly clear. I kept it for years. I read it many times. Anyway, I remember after getting the book from him that afternoon, I was driving home in my car, and the book was in the passenger seat, face up, staring at me. You know what I mean? I'm driving, stopping at a stoplight, look down. That face, it's looking at me. And I couldn't wait to get home. One thing I remember, and this is the truth, the one thing I remember and what I was hoping for was to get the feeling that I got from the Andreessen affair. That Andreessen affair experience for me was amazing. It was an amazing experience to get from a book. You get scared, the terror. That thing where you can't stop reading. You know what I'm talking about. You can't, and you're scared, but you're pounding pages. Bam, bam, bam. Late into the night, one more page, one more chapter. I can go to work on 2 hours sleep. Who needs sleep? Get one more chapter and scared to death. That's what the Andreessen affair did to me. And I knew that Communion was going to be like that. Communion stunned me. Let me make that clear. I would get those adrenaline rushes while reading the book, and you know what I'm talking about. You finish a section, and then you would flip back to the cover of the book and stare at it, look into those eyes, completely freaking yourself out. That's what I was doing. Then go back to reading, back to the cover, rinse, repeat, until I finished the book. And then I read it again. I started it over. And what seemed to me like right away, right after that, the movie came out. You remember that? And I went and checked today, by the way, because this is how my memory is a little foggy when you get to the late 80s. I have my own reasons for that. But I found out today that the movie came out in 1989. the book came out in 1987, and I remember specifically where I was living at that time, and I knew that was 1987, but it seemed like the movie came out in 87, but it didn't. It came out in 89, 2 years later. But I still had the book. I remember the movie was coming out, so to prep for the movie theater, and I couldn't wait for it, I read the book again, which is probably a mistake, but I did. And Whitley says the movie, well, okay, you know what? I'm going to ask Whitley about that tonight. So I don't want to put words in Whitley's mouth. But I personally thought the movie was great. Scared the crap out of me. Just like the book. And to this day, the movie is hard for me to watch. But I do. Why? Because I love documentaries. And I cannot wait. It was a documentary. Make no mistake about it. Christopher Walken was amazing. The movie, before I move on to the news here and get Whitley in here, the movie had that dark New York film kind of disconnect, vintage kind of feel to it, too. You know, the colors were a little washed out. And it had a feeling about it, like fall. You know what I mean? That movie really, truly scared the crap out of me. Plus, now I think it was pretty accurate to the book. I do. I know there was liberties taken, and Hollywood does that. But the movie did its job, and it was all that. So, I do. It was a documentary, and I love them. Love the movie, love the book. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Let's get to the news that you know nothing about. Got a couple of headlines here I want to get over, and then we'll bring Whitley in. Okay, I know you guys are waiting. A satellite launched by North Korea over the weekend while we were in Big Bear has stabilized in its orbit. However, the satellite is not believed to be transmitting any data back to Earth. The satellite was initially tumbling, but has now stabilized. And I was just hoping that thing was going to tumble and burn up, but it didn't. Oh, I'm not supposed to give my opinion on the news, right? Yeah, right. Scientists at the Max Planck Institute in Germany for plasma physics last week did fire up the experimental nuclear fusion reactor named the Wendelstein 7X stellar fusion device. Yes, that is the name. To a temperature of 80 million degrees Celsius. That's correct, 80 million. Remember, they were going to try to get to 212 Fahrenheit. Well, as a result, the facility generated its first batch of hydrogen plasma. They created a sun. The production of the hydrogen plasma is part of a long-range plan to build nuclear fusion power plants that generate energy in much the same manner as our sun and other stars. And this was the crazy thing. This isn't like, crushing atoms and CERN. It actually lasted for like a half a second. How nuts is that? I don't know if you heard about this, but the names and addresses of 20,000 FBI employees and over 9,000 Homeland Security workers were dumped onto the internet by unknown hackers after they trickled their way off of the Department of Justice computer. Tweeting as @.govs, the hackers posted a link pointing to a plain text post by CryptoBin, listing names, job titles, work emails, phone numbers, the states for thousands of employees for the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, and the FBI. The list includes computer specialists, procurement officers, budget analysts, directors, and senior advisors. And then, hot on the heels of all of that, Obama decided to sign probably one of his last executive orders as president. And he says that's it. He's changing the budget. He's going to swing like $12 billion for IT infrastructure improvements. I'm going to have more on that tomorrow. It was just signed off on today. Forget $2 gas, by the way. Gas is getting close to the dollar mark in some parts of the country. There are at least 8 states right now, as I am speaking, selling gas for as little as $1.25 a gallon. The cheapest gas at the moment is at a 7-Eleven in Oklahoma City, which is selling gas at $1.11. In fact, more than a dozen other stations in Oklahoma City have gas for $1.14 or less. Extremely cheap gas can also be found in Texas, Missouri, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Michigan, and Kansas. Nationwide right now, the average is $1.74. Everybody out there enjoy it, because right now here in California, in Los Angeles, we're still paying $2.75. Okay, some places it's $3 and over, by the way. Just enjoy it. I would do anything to go out and fill up. It's at $1.11 and you got a 12-gallon tank. You know, think about $13 to fill up your tank. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. All right. This happened last week. I'm going to say this now. I was completely bummed, and this kind of snuck by all of the mainstream media and everything else out there. But Dave Mirra, the BMX guy, the guy with some of the baddest aerial flips of all times and tricks, made him a legend in freestyle BMX. One of the most successful competitors in the X Games, died last Thursday of an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound. And this is according to police in North Carolina. He was 41 years old. I was completely bummed. Man, I used to love watching that guy. Mirra's body was found in a truck in his hometown of Greenville, North Carolina, about 4 p.m. last Thursday. And I don't know how it happened, but it just slipped by the media. And it didn't really get out until yesterday. Dave Mirra, dead at the age of 41. All right, airliners are being attacked by more than ever by idiots with handheld laser pointers who direct them at cockpits and trying to distract and endanger the pilots and the people on board. The number of such reports has skyrocketed in the past year. I'm not kidding about this. In 2015, there were more than 6,600 incidents in the United States. The previous high was the year before with 3,900. It's nearly doubled. The worst areas for laser pointer attacks are right here in Los Angeles, followed by Phoenix, Houston, Chicago, and Las Vegas. At least 7 of 10 attacks occur between 7 and 11 p.m. at night. Can I ask you, and if you know one idiot that's doing that, crack him upside his head. You could be on one of those flights. Think about that. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber, right here. And we're going to take a quick break. When I come back, we're going to have a nice 2.5 hour conversation with Whitley. You guys sit right there. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA, The Planet. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'll be back right after this quick break. Stay right there.
You're listening to Jimmy Church, Fade to Black.
Fade to Black will now pause for alien identification.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio. What's up, revolutionaries? It's me, Jimmy Church. Do you have an IRS or state tax issue? Well, I did, and I called national tax experts. My problems were fixed, done, fini, and man, I gotta tell you, it was a relief. National Tax Experts are a recognized tax office that services clients in all 50 states. It doesn't matter where you live. Give them a call. I'm telling you, they take the time to understand each and every client's individual financial status as well as their financial goals. And that's exactly what you need, my brother, when you're taking on the evil 3-letter. So, seriously, give them a call today at 1-877-909-5444. Again, 1-877-909-5444. Or go check out their website, www.nattaxexperts.com. That's NATTAXEXPERTS.com. Tell them Jimmy sent you.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
9 out of 10 geneticists agree.
Fade to Black is not your father's radio show on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, The Planet.
Hi, this is Chase Kletsky with Fate Magazine Radio, and you're listening to Jimmy Church and Fade to Black on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA digital broadcast station, where the Fade or Nots rock.
Hi, this is Rob Reiner from Anvil, and you're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com.
What's up? I'm Chris. What up? This is Kyle Massey, and you're listening to Jimmy Church Radio.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tomorrow night, Russell Targ and the CIA's remote viewing program, SRI. He'll be here live tomorrow night. And then Friday and Saturday, I'll be over at Coast to Coast with Walter Cruttenden and Ron Felber, the Mojave Incident. But tonight, it's Whitley Strieber. He is the author of Communion, about his own close encounter of the third kind. And it is among the best-selling books in history. He co-authored Superstorm, which became the movie the day after tomorrow. And he is the author of more than 20 other books, including the spiritual classic The Key, which I have, and the largest-selling book on the Roswell incident, which is Majestic. His current nonfiction is Solving the Communion Enigma, which describes new breakthroughs that could solve the close encounter mystery once and for all. And his newest nonfiction, The Supernatural, a new vision of the unexplained, co-authored with Jeffrey Kripal. And it is an analysis of the paranormal world and what is real, but a radically different view of what is conventionally understood. Whitley is also the host of Dreamland, which I listen to as often as I can. And he has appeared on television, radio all around the world. He's a frequent guest on Coast to Coast AM. And this past weekend, he made a surprise drive-by up at the Alien Snowfest in Big Bear. Shocked everybody. It was amazing to see him. And his website, of course, is unknowncountry.com. And I would like to welcome for the first time to Fade to Black, Mr. Whitley Strieber. Whitley, good evening, sir.
Well, I'm very glad to be here. I enjoy Fade to Black, and this is going to be fun.
Yeah, thank you so much, Whitley. And you know what? Thank you. And this is your first time on the show. And I'll say to the audience right now, you and I have been working on this for a very long time. And
I've been through a lot in the past few years, but I'm here now.
Yeah, you're here now, and we got it done. But because you're a first-time Fade to Black guest, you get the disclaimer, Whitley, which is it's just you and I sitting on my couch having a great conversation between friends. Where we start, where we end, and we'll end as friends. Are you ready to go?
Sure.
Let's do this. Now, before I get started, I want to, obviously, I want to talk a little bit about communion because it did affect, all of us in various ways. And I kind of want to touch upon that. But I'm going to throw you a different slow pitch than you probably normally get, which is this. The cover of the book, I know that you've gotten hundreds of thousands of letters and emails about the book. How many of those letters started off, Dear Whitley, the cover of the book, blank, blank, blank? I mean, how many of those letters started off like that?
Well, a lot, I would guess. I didn't keep count.
And you know what I'm referring to, and the effect on everybody was probably different, but the effect was there. What if, and I'm just speculating, the content of the book stays the same, and what if there was like the Easter bunny on the cover? You know what I mean? Do you think that the book would have the same effect? Because
that face would have been imprinted in a lot of minds. That's why it was used.
Yeah, and the artist that did it, you sat down with him and worked at that to get that exactly right. And how long did that take?
Couple meetings, 2 days.
And in the end, were you happy with it?
Yeah, it's a very successful picture,
and
it contains not only the way this person looked, but also there's something about the little smile in it that fits somehow. Although I can't say that I actually saw that much detail, it fits.
There's something about the picture for me, that smile that you're talking about. There's almost there's something friendly about the picture. But then after you read the book or in the middle of the book, you flip back and you get back to the cover again, and it kind of starts to hit everybody a little bit differently. And
it's not friendly in the sense that we might like to think. This is the face of someone who looks into time from the outside. That's why the eyes are so hard for us to look at, and because they see the truth. A truth that we like to live without looking at, and they take us to it. And that makes us think, oh, they must be evil or they're terrifying because, we're hardwired to live inside the time stream.
The color of the cover, too, as well, obviously that was intentional, but it also kind of went against the grain of other things, before and after it, too, as well. But tell me about the actual color of the book and why you chose those tones.
Because they were the tones of what I saw. There was a sort of... It was very monochromatic. There, except for these iridescent little blue figures, there wasn't a lot of color that I recall on that first night. Of course, mostly it was dark, so you don't see necessarily a lot of color in the dark. And but that was the monochromatic tone that I perceived.
I had said in my little intro about the movie when it came out, and you just mentioned monochromatic, and I mentioned that also in the intro leading up to you, which is, to me, I want your opinion very briefly about the film. For me, I was okay with it. I thought that the intention was delivered in the film, and
it was okay, no more.
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't let down by it. I should say it like that. But it also
I wasn't let up by it either.
Right. But it had a monochromatic. It had that film look to it. The fall. The kind of New York kind of vibe. And I thought that when you say monochromatic with the cover, I kind of got that vibe out of the movie too. And was that intentional, or did you have anything to do with that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. There was definitely a coldness to the film that...
Yeah, well, most of the people involved in it thought I was a nincompoop.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
Were you, as a writer... Were you allowed on the set, and did you?
Well, I wrote a script. They filmed something sort of tangentially related to it.
Right.
I was there most of the time. I couldn't do very much about what was done. They were laughing up their sleeves at me, most of them, I think.
Frustrating? I mean...
Yeah, it was very frustrating.
Yeah.
I really thought very seriously about blowing my brains out, to tell you the truth, during the filming, as I watched what was happening and found I could do nothing about it, even though I was listed as the writer of the film and also a producer of the film. I was neither the writer of the film nor a producer. I couldn't do anything. No one would listen.
So you were just a casual observer on the set?
A casualty would be more accurate.
Oh, man. How frustrating is that?
Yeah, very frustrating.
You mentioned, now I want to jump back for a second. The blue beings. Yeah. I remember, and I want to spend some time on this actually. I remember hearing a couple of interviews with you over the years talking about the blue beings and what you thought that they represented. And I remember, Whitley, and I'm not kidding about this, I sat up for a couple of hours thinking about how heavy of a statement that was and what a concept it is. Could you share that with us?
What did I say?
You had said that you thought that. See, I don't want to put words in your mouth. This is my memory.
I want to know what I said. But I don't. You haven't given me enough context, because there's a lot of answer there. And
right.
Was I talking about them in connection with the soul?
Yes, and that.
Okay, then I know what to say. Then
okay,
they were. I believe that they are basically what it looks like when we are connected to the fate of the soul, and they have to do with it. I think that we have had occasionally in our world artistic insights into their presence. And I'll tell you one of them that appeared in a movie. Remember the movie Ghost with Whoopi Goldberg?
Sure.
Remember the little creatures the dark little figures that come groaning up from below to get the evil souls?
That's right. Yep.
Well, those are kobolds, as I speak about them in Supernatural. Those are those beings have had a tremendous influence on mankind for a long time. They are a part of some deep human legends. We just think of them now as aliens because, we forget our past very quickly. And now they're the sort of little blue aliens. Visitors referred to them as the Good Army. And they were pretty okay to me, but they were tough as nails. They were really tough. I mean, soldiers they were. And I know people who would say that they had shined lights on them and told them that they were soul doctors or soul technologists, soul techs. And I've seen things happen involving them when they have moved souls. One of the things, we live in a culture which is telling us day in and day out, you don't have a soul. You're not, that's nothing, there's nothing there.
Right.
Life is life and death is the end of everything. That is simply false in my experience. And I say not in my belief or my opinion, but in my actual living experience. Most of this stuff I say, keep in question, but I have been there and there is a soul. Believe me. And these guys, whatever they may or may not do, they've got something to do with moving that soul around after it leaves the body and at death. It is attached along the spine. I've even had mine detached and seen the process. I call it second body, the same as Bob Monroe of the great Journeys Out of the Body book in the Monroe Institute called it. And it is a body like this body, very much like it. In fact, as this body ages and grows, that body does too. And then the difference is, though, at the end of life, that body leaves this level of reality completely and goes somewhere else, depending on how you lived.
The intention of interaction back with us, what do you think that they're trying to do or say or show us?
Well, that's an interesting question because what's happening, I'm not sure where this interaction really comes from or why we're seeing all of this stuff. I think it has something to do with the fact that we are coming to the end of this age. The planet is filling up with people. That is to say, the pregnant mother is getting ready to deliver.
Right.
And we're going down the birth canal into a new type of life, and they're probably the midwives, be my guess.
You, I remember you had also said that you thought that they could represent death, and that we're confusing it with other things. And
not that they represent death. That's if I may very well have said that, but that's obviously it's not what I meant. They are the managers of the dead in their movement out of life, apparently, and maybe not all of them. I don't know.
Wow.
I don't know. In some ways, I hope they won't show up for me.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Because, as I say, I've been face to face with them, and I've had, they can be very physical, believe me. And when they're really tough. They're very tough. They're strong. These are soldiers. And but let me tell you another story about them. This is in Supernatural. It's a fascinating story. Our Anne's secretary, Laurie Barnes, who Anne found reading the letters, Anne was a marvelously intuitive, brilliant woman, and she would read all these letters we got in, and I said, you need to hire a secretary because we had piles up to the ceiling practically of letters. And one day she said, here, I've got a secretary, I'll call her. And she called this woman who had written a letter to us. It turned out to live across the street and had been indeed, and though it's not mentioned in the letter, she had been a secretary for years. She was an excellent secretary. She was a lot of other things, too. She was a singer. She was an actress, a dancer. She was a very cool lady. But she was a secretary, too, and an excellent secretary. So she came over. We became good friends, and she and Anne started working together. And here's her story about those little blue figures. And it's fascinating. This is about 1954. She's in bed at home alone. Her husband is out working. It's night. And she's sitting up reading, and she notices movement out of the corner of her eye. And she looks, and to her shock and horror, there is this line of these flat-faced blue dwarfs standing beside the bed.
Oh, man.
And it's 1954.
Right.
This is not something you expect to see. Even the Space Brothers people were just sort of out there somewhere, and they were talking about beautiful Venusians and all kinds of rubbish like that.
Right.
Right. So, and she's horrified. Beyond words, she's pregnant. And the being says, do not be afraid. We are not here for you. We're interested in the child you're carrying. Now, of course, it's 1954, so there's no way to tell whether the baby is a boy or a girl. It turned out it was a girl, but they found that out when the baby was born.
Wow.
And she was appalled. And then, in an additional exchange, she cried out, "You're so ugly." And you know what it said?
What?
It said to her, "One day, my dear, you will be just like us."
See, that's what I'm talking about. Yes.
So that's why one of the great themes in Supernatural is, what are we? We've got this ID fix. It's aliens. They're from another planet. We know what the planet is. We know we've got it all figured out. It's not figured out at all.
No.
Nor should it be. It's way too early to figure this out. The fun part is that it isn't figured out. We've got a wonderful journey to take, but we've got to have the guts to take it as a society. And so far, that has not happened. We're scared to death of this thing. Scared to death of it.
When we look at mythology and other religions, it's not a coincidence, I don't think, that so many of these gods and mythology have blue skin. Do you think that there is a connection there, and we should
there
pay
are
attention?
No coincidences in this. This is a weave. It's like a great illumination or a tapestry that is being woven by a hand of incredible skill with an extraordinary amount of attention to detail. Nothing is an accident.
Man, Whitley, listening to you speak. Oh, I got to say this to the audience, by the way. Whitley showed up at Big Bear for the Alien Snowfest, and George Norrie is on stage. I'm out front with Tom Danheiser. We're sitting there, and George is doing his thing. Whitley walks in, and I got to tell you, Whitley, nobody can interrupt George or stop him in his tracks. and it was great for you to come in, and for George had to stop. He had to stop the show.
Yeah, well, it was good to be there. I've been, Annie was so sick for so long. We couldn't go out and do anything. And now, I'm here. The house is empty, and it's good for me to get out. It helps.
It was amazing. And now I'm going to do what everybody does to you. I'm going to indulge myself for a second and tell you a quick little story. And I know that people come up to you and do exactly what I'm about to do, which is this. Whitley, I interview contactees and abductees and authors and researchers. That's what I do. It's my job. I do it every single day of the week. But I hear everything. And I listen with open ears because of my own strange experience that happened, of all places, Sherman Oaks, right? And you know where Coast to Coast broadcasts from, and I lived across
Sherman Oaks.
Yes, and I lived across the street right there on Dickens and Noble in Sherman Oaks. You know the streets. So I'm there, and I'm alone in my condo. It's 3:00 in the morning. I wake up, and at the foot of my bed, over to the left, in a condo in Sherman Oaks, standing next to the sliding glass doors, is a dude, and I'm like, what? And I thought somebody had broke in to my place, that somebody was there. And I panicked on that, and I thought that there was going to be a fist fight, and I couldn't move. I could see him, though. And, he wasn't very big. I don't know. It was kind of hard to judge, but he was there, and we had like this, Whitley is no joke, a 15-minute standoff of this guy blinking and looking at me, and I'm in bed, and it was nuts. It was crazy, and I panicked. And then finally...
That seems like a reasonable thing to do under the circumstances.
Yeah. And so I finally get the lights on, and I go over, and I'm ready, for some butt kicking, and he's gone. And I jump out of bed. I run around the house. I turn on all the lights. I'm looking for this guy. I can't find him, and he's gone. And that's it. That's the story. But when I heard you talk about the blue beings and what they were and how they were, and I want to say this. People ask me all the time, what do you think? Was it alien? Was there a flying saucer over your house? What do you think? I don't know. I don't have any answers. All I know is I know what I saw. And that was the crazy thing. And I didn't tell anybody, Whitley, for 10 years. And I kept it to myself. And I still, to this day, I don't know what it was. I just know that we had a stare down at the OK Corral.
Well, join a big club. That's all I can tell you.
I know.
There's a lot of weird stuff goes on, and we don't know. The important thing is not to decide we do know before we know.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to look at it. And I don't have any answers, and I would love to get to them. And what's interesting about your experience and mine is that when you hear somebody else come up and want to share something, and I listen to them, I got to listen because I know what happened to me. You know what happened to you. And what advice do you do when you do that? Because my advice always is, just talk about it. Don't keep it inside. That's not doing any good. Don't talk about it and get to somebody and tell them about it so you can feel like you've connected with somebody else. What kind of advice do you give to somebody
who has those experiences?
Sure.
Well, part of it is, of course, suck it up. I mean, because we don't have an infrastructure that can actually help you. If you're lucky, you might find here and there are people who will provide some valuable support, but there's also an awful lot of people out there pushing agendas. You go in certain groups, you're going to be told that you've got evil aliens under your skin, or this or that or the other thing, or
right.
You go to a religious group and you're told you've got demons and you've got demons in your life, and why are they there? In other words, it's your fault, et cetera, et cetera. So it's real hard. We need a much better grounding, a much better basis in order to deal not only with this subject, but with the whole realm of the supernatural, because it is not just super, it is also natural. It is natural. In other words, when people see a ghost, something happened. Did that happen in their mind or in the world around them, or both? We do not know the answer, because we have spent thousands of years deciding that we knew the answer before we even made an effort. Now we have got the skills, both the academic skills to look back across history at these experiences and the way they relate to each other and the way different cultures and different people interpreted them. We have the scientific skills to look into the human body and human mind and see what is going on in people who have these experiences. We can do this. We just won't.
Do you think?
Why? I'll tell you why.
Yeah, go ahead.
We're scared.
Exactly. And why right now with science and physics and the way things are going into not only string theory, but the possibility of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 dimensions right in front of us.
Yeah.
We're close to these kinds of answers right now that do fill in a lot of these blanks that we've had for millennia.
And yet we live in an intellectual culture that wants to believe that this is all basically a Newtonian system.
Right.
That it is A to B to C to D over a specified period of time, and nothing else happens. That there is a biological event going on here called life, and that the 5 billion years that it took to go from a ball of gas to the human mind doesn't essentially mean a thing, that we are just meat. Because if you look at it differently, if you look at yourself as something that matters, it becomes very scary, very quickly. Because why do I matter? If my life has consequences, then, oh my God, what have I done?
Right.
It's hard.
Right.
These are hard things to deal with, and people don't want to deal with them, especially not people who have lived lives in a state of ego and like most people in the intellectual community do, and have hurt others like too many people do. But if you look back across history, Jesus lays it out. It's really very straightforward. And I'm not a Christian in the sense of modern Christians. I do believe that Jesus was something very extraordinary. I don't know what he was, but I do know that he left a valuable message. It is a message of love and compassion. It could not be more simple. If you live that message, you're not going to be scared anymore.
Let's take a quick break. Our guest tonight is Whitley Strieber. This is Fade to Black. When we come back after the break, Whitley, what I want to talk about is communion, and I think it's been confused and accepted as a third or fourth close encounter. I want to talk about those differences and why necessarily that isn't true, and we'll do that when we come back. This is Fade to Black tonight, Whitley Strieber.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network. and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
The station that talks the net. KGRA Radio.
Hello, I'm Katie, and you're listening to my main man, Jimmy Church, on jimmychurchradio.com.
Hi, this is Ray Hobbs here, repping the planet, and you're listening to my good friend, Jimmy Church, Fade to Black, on the Game Changer Network and the KGRA Digital Broadcast Station.
People love to shop. What if you could shop and it was actually good for you? What if you could actually purchase items that bettered your life? What goes into your body is important to what quality of life you have. How about shopping for items that better your health? GetTheT.com is that shopping place. We're not only tea, even though that's our #1 seller, we are about helping your health. There's Colostrum LD for those of you with autoimmune troubles. The product helps your stomach get on track. GI problems produce pain. Get relief with Colostrum LD. How about some fat burners? Or maybe some joint aid? Or a power cleanse? There's so much to tell you with very little time. So get help health-wise at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Or you can call our friendly operators at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Get help and relief by going shopping. Shop at GetTheT.com. That's GetTheT.com. Serving people with great products for over 8 years. GetTheT.com.
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Let TalkStream Live transform the way you listen to radio. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mobile talk radio from TalkStream Live. Now available in the iTunes App Store.
This is Toby Kebbell. You're listening to JimmyChurchRadio.com. Don't hurt me, Jimmy. I'm only little.
Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And this is Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. Yes. We are of the Honey Brothers. Hey, I'm Adrian Grenier. And I'm Ari Gold. We're the Honey Brothers. And you're listening to Jimmy Church. The Revolution.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
This is Micah Hanks of the Gralien Report, and you're listening to Jimmy Church on Fade to Black, across the globe on the Game Changer Radio Network and the one and only KGRA Radio, The Planet.
Welcome back, Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tomorrow night, Russell Targ right here. It's going to be great. And also, Lance Mungia is going to be here talking about their new documentary on the CIA's remote viewing program. Whitley, I had said before the break about the perception of communion and the follow-up books, too, as well. About being alien, and then your opinion has definitely changed on that over the years. I want to address that for a second.
Well, it was the same as it was at the beginning. My opinion is exactly the same. What's changed is that the media took it one way and people took it one way, And I took it another. Everybody thought I was talking about a close encounter of the third kind with aliens.
Right.
I was talking about a weird experience, and there's a very great difference between those two things. That's why communion ends with a list of questions as of what it may have been, and why it is in the frontispiece of the book. It says the human mind winks back from the dark.
And didn't
the human mind, not aliens.
Right. And then you did have, I remember, before you left the cabin up in New York, didn't you have an experience with lights shining in through the window?
Oh, that light that was not a light shining in the. Yeah, I did. I'll tell you that story. It's a very straight story. This thing, whatever it is, it is not something as simple as alien scientists coming from another planet to look us over. This is to do with us in the deepest possible way, in ways that are even deeper than we can as yet understand. And I'll tell you precisely why we can't understand yet. We can't understand because there is a barrier between us and the soul. We don't know what it is, and it's just exactly like it was before radio was invented. We couldn't understand it. A 16th century person couldn't understand radio no matter how hard you tried to explain it to him, because he had no context for it. We don't have any context for understanding the soul, but it's the primary reason we're here. Now, let me go backtrack just for a second here.
Sure.
Back to that experience, because it wasn't just a light shining in the window. That was the end of a year or two of contact and involvement with a group of people who were in second body. They were from between the worlds. And for whatever reason, they were able to project themselves into the physical world. And if they were careful and in balance, to flow in time with me as we flow in time. One night I was meditating in my meditation room, and suddenly I felt I'd gotten very sensitive about the presence of beings or people I couldn't see in this house. So had Anne, in fact, not to mention the cats. And I became aware that there was someone standing right in front of me while I was meditating, sitting on the floor. And I meditated on for a while, and I finally said, look, I can't handle this. I know you're there. And I need to see you. If I can't see you, I can't meditate. Nothing happened. So I said, okay, I'm going to bed, and I'm sorry, if you want to meditate with me, I have to be able to see you at least once. So I go to bed. I waked up at about 2 o'clock in the morning by someone punching me on the shoulder, which is the visitor wake up. I was very familiar with it. And it woke me up immediately because it meant cool, but probably also scary things were going to happen.
I was going to ask, were you cool with getting hit?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, listen, it happens all the time. It just happened the other night. I've been engaged with this in the past couple of weeks, big time. But in any case, let's go back there. There, sitting on the foot of the bed, is this man. He's not big. He's not huge. He's, maybe 4.5 or 5 feet tall at most. He's and this is important to understand, he's very, very still. He's still because he's balancing. He's literally like someone walking a tightrope, balancing in our flow of time. I get out from under the covers. I go down to the foot of the bed, and I look at him. I am a foot away, 2 feet away from his face. And his eyes are deep and dark, and I know why. It's because they see from outside of time. They see more than we see. They're hard to look at, but by this time, because I understand this, I can do it. I take his hand in mine, and it is it's like a butterfly. It's so light, but it's there. It's solid. I smell his skin, and it's amazing.
What did it smell like?
It smelled like the skin of somebody who had never heard of bathing. That's what it smelled like. It was extremely strong. And I was astonished because I hadn't expected it to smell like anything. I thought he was a sort of almost semi-material ghost. But there was something deeply human about him at the same time. I put his hand down, but I wasn't careful. I didn't put it down too slowly enough. I sort of dropped it because I was surprised at how ripe he was, frankly.
Right.
And that caused him to shake, and he disappeared because he literally fell off the tightrope. But then I had seen him. Do you understand what a peak experience this is? I'm telling you about something that has happened once.
Right.
This was an incredible thing. But then it began meditation. They would come and bang me on the shoulder twice a night. At 11, I would meditate at 11, at 3, and at 6. This has started again, by the way. But instead of banging me on the shoulder now, they're hitting me in the toe hard. Wakes you right up, I can tell you. Of course, now I'm 70. Then I was in my 40s. I guess they figured I was easier to wake up. But in any case,
interesting.
I would go back. I would meditate, and when they came, you would hear these bangs on the roof, thuds, 7 thuds on the roof. And Annie would hear the thuds, and she finally said one night, well, look, I want to do this. I want to go in there with you. I said, sure, come in. I'd love to have you meditate with us. So she comes in. The 7 thuds happen. Then you can feel presences in the room, even though you can't see them. She says, I'm not actually ready for this.
Right.
And she leaves.
Right.
But she was there nevertheless. And then it comes, fast forward. I could tell you about the times people saw those 7 balls of light floating in the woods, which was wonderful. But that's another part of the story. Fast forward to, we've lost the cabin. My sales have cratered, and they never recovered, by the way. Never did. After South Park made me a national laughingstock, the rectal probe man.
Right.
You know, it's one thing to buy a book by somebody who's controversial, but buy a book by somebody who's being laughed at ain't gonna happen.
Right.
And so I was dead in the water all of a sudden. And my sales dropped 90% from one book to another, to the next. And I had been destroyed. So I had no money. So I had to give up the cabin. I had to leave. First, by this time, I've been meditating with them a long time, and I have been through a glorious experience, which I detail at some length in Supernatural. It was extraordinary. And so I'm able to say on that last night, this is my last night. And you can hear them actually shuffling around. I mean, they're moving up there on the roof. You can hear the creaks because they could be solid if they wanted to. They didn't have to be, but they could be, and they were there.
Whitley, this was literally your last night. I mean,
like
you moved out of the...
next morning at 9 o'clock, we would drive out for the last time.
And so did they know about this departure with you from the cabin?
They were very sensitive.
Right.
They would not do anything to change the flow of my life, but they were there with me, and they are there with me now. But in any case.
Okay, so let's go back to the light in the window. Yeah.
I said that last night, I said, this is the last night. I know that you showed me yourself as a physical body, but I also know that's not what you actually look like. Because there is no place where people who look like that are. You are something else. And I know the balls of light, the kids have, some of the kids who used to be there have seen the balls of light in the woods. I did not see them, but they did. Some of the kids saw them. And I know that's you guys, you people. But I want to see what you look like. I want to see what a soul looks like when it appears in this world. Nothing happened, so I went to bed. I'm lying there, and suddenly there's a light in the front yard. The way it worked was the bedroom was here. I was in the bedroom. The next room over was the meditation room. So both the bedroom and the meditation room looked out over the front lawn and driveway.
Right.
So the light's coming from the meditation room, and I can see it, this big glow. And it was so big, I thought, oh, my God, the place is on fire. And I jumped up and ran to the front window. And this light comes out over the lawn. It was incredibly beautiful. And not only beautiful, but alive, because it had rays coming out of it like laser beams, very thin white laser beams. And they would touch you and prick your skin. And you could feel and taste another person as this light moved across your skin. It was like being embraced in the most intimate, sweetest, deepest, and most deeply challenging way you can possibly imagine. I say deeply challenging because it was incredibly intimate. Not sexually intimate, but intimate in ways that we're not intimate. We can't be intimate. We don't have that. We don't have that capability.
Right.
This was intimacy, soul to soul intimacy.
And you were comfortable and happy.
No, it was too much for me.
That was my. That's where I'm going.
And as soon as I began to feel that fear, it very gently, the light moved back.
Right.
And it hung there, just glowing. I could only see the glow for a few seconds and then went out. And suddenly I understood what 5 billion years of evolution are all about. That's what they are about. And when you hear Neil deGrasse Tyson or one of these jokers
right.
telling you there is no such thing as a soul,
right?
You remember this story, please.
Yes.
Because this is what you have the right to be, and most of us do not become.
Wouldn't you love to sit down and set Richard Dawkins straight one day? But
no, I don't have time.
Yeah, thank
he
you.
has his life to live. He'll come. He'll do what he has to do. It's not my business at all.
Right.
He's but anyone who's listening to this and listening to this show, there's a chance, and it's very simple. It's not hard to live a good life. You live a life of love and compassion, and you do what the master of the key said. I asked him, the master of the key, back in 1998, I asked him, what is sin? And he said, denial of the right to thrive. And if you live by that, and you live by love and compassion, you're gonna leave this world with a good soul.
I want to talk about that right after the break. I do want to mention really quick. We found out about this this morning. We couldn't confirm it, but now apparently I can make the announcement. But Bob Dean has passed away today, and there you go. So rest in peace, Bob Dean. And yeah, we found out about that this morning. And wow, man, Edgar Mitchell, on Friday, and
in just a couple days,
yeah,
a whole generation of seekers is passing away and leaving in their place Neil deGrasse Tyson.
No, I was hoping you were going to say me. Yeah, I don't need that Neil deGrasse Tyson thing.
No.
Oh man, see, the thing is, and we're going to move on. I'm going to say this about Neil. Guys like him, the professional scientists that are no longer scientists, but they're paid to talk. They're no longer researching or anything of the sort. They're just celebrities. And then we hang on their every word, or not we, not I or you, but the world, in mass media. And they actually listen to him. And I would ask
he's not wrong about physics or cosmology, but he's wrong about the soul. He's wrong about the visitors.
Yeah, he's wrong about a lot of things, and it just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, he's wrong in the way the media wants us to be wrong. They want us to feel small, insignificant. They want us to believe that we are nothing and that our lives in this life are all that matters. And what do you think happens to a soul that lives that way? It goes naked into the next world, unprepared.
Yeah, bad things.
You don't need to be that way.
Right. Now, don't want to let my mind get away from this. So you have the laser light wave touching sensation, and you were scared at first, but then you had the answers.
I was scared to death, and I was. It wasn't that I was scared of the light. It was that the intimacy of the experience was overwhelming.
And well, what I was
and he backed off when he felt me, when he sensed me feeling the pain of that.
And when somebody else that would be unprepared for an experience like that, do you think it would be natural just to be scared out of your mind?
It would not have that experience.
What's that?
It wouldn't have that experience. I worked with the visitors from 1985, and that happened in 1992. So 7 years from the first encounter to that. And that was because I was as prepared for it as I could be anyway. And it wouldn't come at random to someone. It would come to people who could handle it in some way.
Right.
Probably a lot of people could handle it a lot better than me, but I did my best.
Do you think it was, let me ask you, why do you think it happened? Do you think it was the location? Do you think it was the cabin?
No,
or do you think it was you?
It happened because of this, because I'm out here doing this now.
Right.
It happened because of Supernatural. It happened because of the other books.
Right.
It happened because I'm here to communicate this. And I've been chosen very intelligently. I'm a good writer. I'm a good talker. And I'm pathologically honest. Those three things are part of the reason I was chosen. But the other reason is I'm a horror novelist. People don't have to believe me. I'm not an authority. Their freedom to choose is completely intact. If they do get into this with me, they will find accuracy, honesty, and total sincerity, and the capability of communicating. But if they don't want to, or this isn't something for them, or they feel it's frightening in some way, they can say, well, he's a horror novelist, so who the hell cares what he thinks?
That's right. What happened? Are you in contact with, I already know the answer to this, but I just want to, for the audience, the new occupants of the cabin.
No.
That's it? When you moved away, did you ever go back?
I've heard indirectly that absolutely nothing has happened to them, and I'm not surprised.
Right.
What was happening there was about me and Ann. It wasn't about the cabin.
Right. And the neighbors, too. They as far away as they lived, from your location.
One of the neighbors used to see stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but he won't own up to it now, so there's no point he used to see the light that came over the cabin, and he used to hear the voice of the haunting calls that came from that light. But I revisited with him a few years ago. He said it must have been somebody else. People are weak. He's mainly interested that nobody come up the road and disturb his privacy. That's his main interest.
You had just mentioned, and we're going to be heading towards a break here in a few minutes, but you had just mentioned that you've had contact as recent as just a few days ago.
Yeah, and I'm not going to talk about it yet. I'm not ready.
Suffice
to say, it has to do with meditation. And I am once again being waked up at 3 o'clock in the morning to meditate, and I think that's wonderful. I'm ecstatic about it.
Well, but my question was not about that, but was it a thump to the shoulder, or was it a whack on the toe?
They're trying a little harder than they used to, because the thumps to the shoulder used to work fine, but now what's happening is I'm getting these, for 2 nights it was like a needle going in under my big toenail. Then it was like an electric shock on my second toe on the other foot. And those things, it'll wake you right up. You go from totally asleep to totally awake in a second. And then last night, it was voice, come on. It's not, this isn't fun. This is work. This is hard work. Waking up to the soul is hard work. It's not easy.
Is it the same beings or souls that you were in contact with in New York?
Oh, goodness knows. I have no idea. I can't even begin to think. I don't have any idea what any of them are.
Right.
I don't know. I'm just here doing this, and when that happens, I get up and I go and I meditate as best I can. And I meditate in the morning, I meditate at night before I go to bed, and I meditate at 3 o'clock in the morning. And, I could not be healthier, and I'm not tired ever. I feel incredibly fresh and vital.
Are they okay with you, like, coming on this show and talking about them? Are they okay with that? And is that part of the job?
I'll find out.
Yeah, right, exactly. And really quick, and I don't want to stay on this, but is it a situation where that they knew that you could handle it? Because look, Whitley, you've been rolling the rock uphill for a long, long time, and most people would give up, go nuts, go crazy, and pack it up. But
I don't think they chose me because I'm weak.
Right.
I think they chose me because I'm a stubborn, strong cuss, a very kind man, and a very warm man, but kind of mean when I get my back up, and kind of insistent. I'm not going to turn away from something I know is true, especially when I'm surrounded by a bunch of goddamn liars and morons in the media, which happens a lot. It used to happen a lot. I don't go out there anymore. I mean, what's the point of going on CNN? It's useless. These people are dead. They're robots, as far as I can tell.
Yeah. That's a whole nother conversation.
NPR, they are very good at talking smiles on those things. Or the New York Times, the Washington Post. Give me a break. They're about the past. It's The Walking Dead.
Yes. And you know what's fascinating with that? I talk about it all the time, and I just want to hear you laugh for one quick second, Whitley. This is what I tell my audience every day. When you see the news, when you see television, when you read the news, when you see the mass media, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it's about. It could be about cheese. Take the story, flip it upside down, and look at it from 180 degrees in the opposite direction, and you might be somewhere close to the truth.
The truth is out there, way out there.
Whitley, really quick, when we come back off of the break, I want to talk to you about implants and your experience with that. We're going to talk about that, but also I want to talk about how like last week, when you communicate, how is that done? And that's an interesting thing. We're going to talk about all of that tonight. It is Whitley Strieber. This is Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. This is Bespoke Radio for the masses on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. More with Mr. Strieber right after this short break. Stay with us, everyone.
Way out here, we listen to Jimmy Church.
You're listening to Fade to Black.
Always on the edge of the hottest alternative talk. Jimmy Church with Fade to Black. KGRARadio.com.
¿Qué tal, mis amigos? Yo soy Mario Carson, el tiburón, y los invito para que escuchen a mi buen amigo Jimmy Church Radio. ¡Claro que sí!
Imagine no longer being tied down to your computer, but having the freedom to take live talk radio with you anywhere you go. TalkStream Live introduces our first ever iPhone application. The talk shows you follow now follow you, and your iPhone is now the fastest and easiest way to stay connected to the best talk radio on the internet. Listen to live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. TalkStream Live, now available in the iTunes App Store.
Diabetics brand multivitamins, physician formulated specifically for people who have or are predisposed to diabetes. If your blood sugar numbers are not optimal, Diabetic Special Formula can help you metabolize the nutrients you need for improved results. Don from New York writes, "My blood sugar levels are now in the low 100s. Go to EnergyWave.com. Use promo code TALK for free shipping." This statement has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Did you ever turn to your radio for your favorite talk show to find that it's been preempted for this?
In the air, to deep right center. Back goes Lewis to the wall, and it's all here!
Or this?
And I'm ashamed of you, Hillary, for voting for it.
Do you have a favorite talk radio program that's not available in your city? Just go to TalkStreamLive.com for links to the best streaming talk radio shows. At TalkStream Live, you will find live talk shows 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. All your favorites are here. With such a large selection, you will also discover some new favorites. On the go and still want to listen? With the mobile smartphone, simply type TalkStream Live on your internet browser. Now you can take internet radio with you. You will also find hundreds of music, news, and sports streams. Best of all, the TalkStream Live directory is free and there's never a login required. Remember TalkStreamLive.com, the fastest route between you and your favorite talk radio show.
You are listening to Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Network.
Oi, oi, I'm Reese Evans. You're listening to Jimmy Church. This is Revolution. The revolution will not be televised. The revolution is on radio. Ciao.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tomorrow night, Russell Targ, going to be right here live with Lance Mungia and their new documentary on the CIA remote viewing program. Whitley, I wanted to ask you really quick, why 3 a.m. and 11 o'clock specifically? Was there a reason for those times?
3 a.m. has always been very important, and I don't know exactly why, except that's probably the time of night you're most vulnerable. My first experience happened, the experience in, I shouldn't say first experience, the experience in December of 1985 happened at 3 a.m. or around there. And for years, I was waking up in the middle of the night at that hour in a panic attack. But recently it changed. After Annie passed away, things began to change. She's very close to me, and, you know, we expected that we would still be in contact after one of us passed away, and we are. And if you go on my website, you'll see, in Whitley's Journal, you'll see a lot of stuff about that. And if you are a subscriber to Unknown Country, then you can listen to a new weekly show I have called Awakening, which is basically about the relationship we have now. So, and she always said that 3 o'clock in the morning was important because we're more open when we're most deeply asleep. We're more available. And I guess that's the reason for 3 o'clock. 11 is simply when I go to bed. Yeah, and I meditate before I go to bed. And you wake up in the morning, that liminal hour between just right when dawn is unfolding, it's like the veil between the worlds is thinner than two somehow. It's a very good time to meditate as well. So
it's interesting that I said to you my experience was at 3 a.m. Yeah. And how many? I know you're going to say you can't count, but how many other people with these types of experiences have told you the same thing? 3 a.m.
Yeah, they're usually the early wee hours of the morning, 2 2 to 3:30. Not much past 3:30 and not much before 2.
And with Ann's passing, and you guys talking about this now, my mother passed away last year, and I wanted to, and I've talked about it on the show. I couldn't wait for that experience that everybody else tries to have, and some do, to see a relative or a loved one after they have passed, but I haven't had that yet with my mom. When after Ann's passing, was it right away? Did you have to work at it?
Yeah, I went with her. I can go out of my body, and I went out of my body with her because I wanted to go with her. To be honest with you, I wanted to very badly. I still do, but you have a moral obligation. If you have a healthy body, you cannot know what your future is, and you cannot know how much you matter to others, and therefore you have to stay. That's not what I want to do. I'd rather be with her any day.
Right.
But here I am. I went with her. I went as far as I could, and then I could not go any farther. And subsequently, what happened that very night was about an hour after she passed away, a friend called, a mutual friend, and said, Whitley, I just had the funniest feeling. I needed to call you and tell you Ann is extremely close to you right now. And I said, Belle, Ann has just died. And she said, oh, no. She said, I didn't know why I was supposed to call you, but that's why. Ann is there. She's still with you. That was the first thing. A couple days later, I was out in the country with my kids, out in the mountains, and just sitting on a bench alone, communing with nature, and thinking to myself, "Gosh, Annie, I wish you were with me. I wish you were here. I wish that if I could just have some sign." And my cell phone rang.
Shut up! Are you serious?
And I opened it. I mean, it's an iPhone. I punched it, and it was a friend from Tennessee saying, Whitley, I just had this sudden feeling that I needed to call you and tell you Ann is with you. And, you have one thing like that happen, and you think, well, but you have it happen twice, and it's a different story, and it's happened many times. And another thing that was really interesting happened. I was at a conference, at a William Henry conference, and I don't know if you've ever had William on your show, but he gives wonderful conferences. And I was there, and, just being at the conference. And suddenly a woman walks up to me and says, Mr. Strieber, I'm so embarrassed. I've never had anything like this happen before, but I just had a message from your wife, and I don't know, do you want to hear it? I said, well, of course I do. She said, but I'm so sorry. It's something about a chair. I said, well, go ahead and tell me. She said, Ann told me to tell you that she can see you when you're in the chair. Well, that told me a lot, because I sit and meditate in a chair. Now, I used to sit on the floor, but I'm in a chair now because, the older you get, as those of you who are young will soon find out, sooner than you think, your knees get crappier and crappier.
Yes, so they do.
I'm sitting in a chair. So I sit in a chair when I meditate. And at that moment, then I knew something. It immediately, and this is something that's working, this is not an accident, there came to mind something that the visitor said to me in my mind many years ago that's probably recorded in one of the books, maybe Breakthrough or Transformation. I asked why they came here, and they said, we saw a glow. And when I was talking with that woman, I suddenly realized, I thought at the time, it must be the glow of cities and stuff, because I thought in those days I wasn't sure what they were, but if you'd asked me, I would say the odds are they're aliens. Anyway, then I suddenly put two and two together, and I realized it's not the glow of cities. It's the glow of us. When we meditate in the right way, and it's simple as pie, we glow. And they can see us and can see me when I do that. And that's what it's about. It's what the 3 a.m.ers are now about, because someone wants this communication to take place, this communion between us to continue. They want this to continue. Anne was all about bridging the gap between the living and the dead.
Now,
raising the veil, because she felt like that was the direction of real human evolution. That if we're going to survive and grow into the cosmos, that's the next thing we have to do. And she's doing it, her best, from her side. And so I am from my side. I'm doing my best too.
Now, she was smart and special, but I know, and I don't want to know, but specifically, but did you guys have a special signal planned, for the other side? That's
no,
something.
There is a signal. It's a signal that any medium or psychic claiming to be channeling Anne would know.
That's what I'm talking about. Okay,
and I'm not saying what it is. Obviously,
I don't want to know,
because there's already been a number of people who have offered to, for a charge, channel Anne for me. No, I've been down that road.
Yep.
We've done that. It's over now. Let's do it for real. And when I say for real, I mean it's entirely free. And eventually, if we keep getting more and more people able to do it, everyone will be able to do it. And it's just going to be part of life.
Now, just give me yes or no. Have you gotten the signal?
Not from any of the mediums.
Right. But from Anne. I mean, the one where
I know the signal. We set it up before she died.
Yeah, exactly. How cool is that?
Well,
it's got to be amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It has to be. And I didn't discuss it. The reason why I'm asking, I didn't do that with my mom. Should have done it, didn't, and but and my mom, Whitley, was very cool. I mean, just as far as the paranormal goes and ufology and things that she taught me, back in the 60s, and showed me that, life is different than everybody else thinks it is. And so if there was anybody that was going to, knock me in the shoulder, it'd be her. And we just didn't we didn't discuss the signal. And so there you go. I'm happy for you.
The old lady visitor said to me, "You're the luckiest of the lucky." And now that I'm in this situation, I know how true that is. And all I can say is this: for you and for everybody who longs for that signal, let's hope we get to a place where we have evolved to the point where the living and the dead are in communion. I hope so.
Let's change gears a little bit. It's
getting pretty heavy.
Yeah, it's getting heavy. It's getting good, though. And fascinating conversation. Thank you. And I didn't know that we were going to go there. And we didn't even discuss that before the show, but we did, and it's great. But I want to talk about your earlobe. Still there?
My ear is still there, and so is the implant.
It's still there. Is it still moving around a little bit?
No, it only did that when it was touched that one time.
And so you just leave it go.
Annie thought I should leave it in, and I trusted her instincts deeply, and I do leave it in, and I think it has something to do with the fact that all of this keeps happening to me. I think it, like the master of the key, one of the prime experiences of my life happened after the implant, a few years after the implant was put in. Would it have happened with no implant? I don't know. But I do know this. There is a lot of technology and science connected with the relationship between the levels of reality. And that's, I think, this in my ear has got something to do with that technology. And I'm not going to have it removed, no. And it's not a mind control device.
Do you feel it, or do you ever hear it or sense it?
Well, I'm feeling it right now. I mean, I can touch it. I don't feel it anymore. I used to be very aware of it. at first, when I realized it was there, it was horrifying.
Right.
I mean, it was God. I mean, it's there, and I can't get it. I almost cut my ear off.
I know.
To be honest with you, I was just terrified. And then it started turning on, and that was not amusing. I have to tell you, the ear used to get red and hot, and I'd hear this noise in my head, and that was concerning, very concerning. And then after we left the cabin, moved to San Antonio, I met William Mallow. Dr. Mallow was the head of materials science at Southwest Research. And, I was able to take everything a step further because of meeting him and going to Southwest, which I never would have done if I hadn't lost the cabin. And maybe that's why no magical visitor help came to let me keep it, because they knew that it was time for another phase of life to begin.
Sure.
So it turned on in his office at Southwest Research, and he saw the ear turn red and felt the heat in his fingers when he touched it, and rushed me into one of the world's most advanced signals collection laboratory. And I sat in there with it humming away in my ear, and they said that they couldn't collect any signals. And then Bill very obliquely told me later, he was a very nice guy, but he worked on a lot of intelligence-related stuff and a lot of secret stuff there. More than 50% of their budget is from the intelligence community at Southwest Research. And he said, Whitley, when we are dealing with classified material, sometimes we're required by law to lie. If you ask me about something that's classified, I have to lie in order to keep it secret.
Right.
And it was like he was telling me that what had happened in the lab was a lie, but he couldn't tell me anything else. But I've never known. He said we didn't collect a signal.
What did I just say? Flip it over 180 degrees, right?
Exactly.
This Trevor Potter, who ran the Alien Snowfest, just sent me a quick question for you.
Sure.
And he says, can you ask Whitley what drew him to Big Bear in the event? He and my dad, attorney Chet Potter, knew each other years and years ago. Do you remember Chet?
No.
Okay.
I have no memory of him whatsoever.
Okay. He says, I wonder if it was my dad's since my dad's passing that maybe his dad was checking on him through you.
Well, maybe his dad drew me to Big Bear because I'm very sensitive to that level of reality and that type of communication, because I just suddenly wanted to go. And I went.
Yeah, that was interesting, and more on that. You and I can talk off the air about that. But it was great seeing you show up, and nobody really knew that you were coming, and you kept that those cards to your chest, and it was.
Yeah, I called him and told him I was coming, but I don't think he told anybody.
No, he did. He told me, but nobody else knew. And then I went up to Linda, of course, and the rest is history, and you were there, but. Anyway, what I wanted to ask you was, you had said that the communication that was happening, and you had mentioned mind, but you had also said a couple of times, and I know that you've referenced this in the past, that you were speaking out loud at times too as well. How was the communication happening with the souls? Was most of it through meditation? Was it through the mind?
What do you mean, with the visitors? Or
yes.
With the visitors, well, most of the visitor communication was sort of like a whisper in my mind. Sometimes it was radio-like, and twice there were voices. Once it was a very clear voice that said, "Have joy," which Anne seized on. She said, that's it. That's the core message of this.
Interesting.
And the other time, the three of them showed up in the bedroom right at the height of the communion nightmare when I was going out on the radio and television and just being beaten up like what I am, which is a tough old horse. But anyway, and I could see him across the room. And I said, can you tell me how I'm doing? And they all answered the question in unison, but in different ways, and I couldn't understand a word, and then they disappeared.
Interesting.
Yeah. It was a little frustrating.
Was it what? And so they were. It was at the same time. And this is the dumb question, Whitley, but go with me. Was it? It was English, right? I mean, it was.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't understand a word of it.
Oh, that's interesting. But the rest of it, I don't want to say telepathic, but it was through the mind.
Telepathic would be one way. Sometimes it's like it sounds like a radio, and I think it's done with technology. I think it's done with microwave technology. I'm pretty sure it is, in fact. And
which goes back to the implant too, possibly. Do you think it?
Yeah,
that
probably so. And then another time, the other time, it was just a voice, that voice that said, "Have joy." And a couple months ago, the three of the kobolds of the blue guys showed up, and I was at a friend's country house in Texas, and they made a noise. They make a noise. It's just noise. And they made that noise 3 times because I was meditating. I was in really deep communication with them, and I needed to know where I was. Was I in communication with them, or was this part of myself, or exactly what it was for various reasons I'm not going to go into tonight. And they made the sound, so that I did hear that sound also. But I've heard very few sounds in the clear, as it were.
What kind of meditation, by the way, Whitley? Is it a named meditation, or is this yours?
I learned it from Joseph Stein, who was a teacher in the Gurdjieff Foundation years ago. And it's a very simple meditation. I think you can probably find it on my website, where you take your attention and you place it on your body. Your attention is constantly running with your thoughts and with the world outside. Once the visitors explained to me that we come we were evolved from a species of, I think they might have said marmoset or something. Anyway, a creature that used to hunt through the forest tops for berries. And we love shiny things for that reason. That's why all of our cars and things are so shiny.
Interesting.
We love jewels and gold and anything that shine. And so you take your mind, your attention off of all of that, off of your thoughts, your recriminations, your angers, your loves, your greed, your desires, the things that shine. And you put it on your body. You go from your foot, left foot, knee, and upper leg, your whole leg, right leg, arms, torso, head, face. And then once you have your attention firmly centered on your physical sensation, you just let yourself be quiet. And you do this, it's not like consumer-oriented meditation where you do all of these various rituals and you get to feeling pretty cool about yourself. It's real simple. It doesn't change you or the world. It's hard work because your attention will go back to your thoughts again and again and again. And each time that happens, once you've noticed it, you take it and you put it back on your body. And after a while, after some years of doing this, you begin to change. Because if you sense first body, you feed second body. That means that second body is getting stronger and more formed and is absorbing more of your life experience. You are in literally getting richer in a way that matters. It's not a new car, true, but it matters because it lasts. And that's what I do. I've been doing it for 50 years, long before I had the first close encounter.
Do you still work with the foundation?
I'm very devoted to the foundation, but I'm not a member of particular group at this time. But I'm very devoted. I love the foundation, and I love Mr. Kajif and what he gave deeply. I could not have ever worked with the visitors if I hadn't had the language that came from my Gurdjieff work.
He was, I hate to say the oldest cliche out there, but way ahead of his time. I mean,
well, yeah.
Whoa.
You pick up his book, Beelzebub's Tales to His Grandson, All and Everything. You'll find that a daunting experience. It's not easy to read. Anne read it in 2 weeks.
Right.
And, we were all shocked when we were young in the foundation. That was probably about 1970.
Right.
And our group leader, Mr. Stein, said, Anne, nobody reads this. I haven't even finished it yet.
It's tough.
Oh, it's very tough. And he sort of quizzed her on it. She knew very well what she'd read. And Anne did not work like that. She didn't do the sensing exercise I was just describing or anything. She did it her own way. She was really her own person. She did things her own way. And while she never talked about past lives or anything, I have a feeling she was in the work in a past life in a big way. And she knew already all of this stuff because she came to it like a person who had already been there.
We're gonna hit a break. I'm gonna ask you a quick question. This is for me. When you write your fiction, is it easy, and do you do it in spurts? And how, Whitley, how in bleeping earth does that kind of creativity come to somebody? Is it for you just super easy and you're just, it's like riding a bike and chewing gum and you just stroll through it, or do you have to work at it?
For a writer, hell has but one gate. It is the blank page. No, it's not easy. I think I'm pretty well finished with fiction. I don't think that my books don't sell anymore at all, and I have a feeling I've written my last book. So I don't think anyone would publish me. In fact, Supernatural is hardly visible in the stores. It's just very thinly out there, and nobody much is going to buy it.
You have, and speaking, one of my favorite things to do, and everybody should do this, go to unknowncountry.com, subscribe, go listen to Dreamland, listen to Whitley, go and check it out. Go get deep into that world.
Well, thank you, because it's a valuable world to get deep into. It matters.
I love it. And getting, listening to you is just, and you have such a dedicated fan base that are there for you, and you have a way of writing. And I just find it, just utterly fascinating. Oh, really quick, I've got 30 seconds here. With Hunters, is that actually going to make it to Sci-Fi? Is that ready to go?
Yeah, it starts on April the 11th, and it goes for 13 weeks, and hopefully we'll have a second season, too.
Are you happy?
It's a very cool show. It plays off my ideas in the Alien Hunter series, but it's not. It's a different story, but Natalie Chaidez is brilliant, the showrunner, and of course, Gail Ann Hurd. What can you say? She's a terrific human being and also a fabulous producer, and so it's a cool show.
All right, let's take a quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about Michael. I want to talk about the Master of the Key. I want to talk about the key. And I want to get as much as we can in this next segment before I have to let you go. Okay, so Whitley, is that okay? Can we do the Master of the Key? Is that all right? Can we go there? Let's do that. This is Fade to Black tonight. Whitley Strieber. This is Bespoke Radio for the masses. I'm your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Network and KGRA The Planet. More with Whitley right after this short break. Stay right there.
Hi everybody, this is Rob Halford, the Metal God on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
KGRA Radio. Intelligent talk.
Why do people order Life Change Tea? Because Life Change Tea helps the digestive system. Life Change Tea helps the colon unclog. The tea also helps with high blood pressure, high cholesterol, and many, many other health issues. Life Change Tea also tastes great. And Life Change Tea is not just green tea. Life Change Tea is a unique blend of 8 different herbs that go to town, cleaning your body of harmful toxins, bacteria, and parasites. Our tea is number 1. Are you ready for your life change? Let the tea help you. too. Log on to our online store of helpful products to get your body on track. Log on to getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. Or you can call us at 928-308-0408. That's 928-308-0408. Not all tea is equal. Read our website of all the factual testimonies that prove that Life Change Tea is working. Health is important, and our quality of life is very important. Don't wait to order. Expect a life change with Life Change Tea at getthetea.com.
Hi, I'm Richard Dolan. When I'm not hosting my radio program, The Richard Dolan Show on KGRA, or writing new books on UFOs, I run a publishing company. I'm proud to say that Richard Dolan Press has published some of the most fascinating books available on UFOs and related subjects. They include Dr. Bruce Maccabee's classic analysis of the UFO cover-up, David Marler's breakthrough book on triangular UFOs, Dr. Richard Sauter's unique work on underground bases, and other classics by Grant Cameron, Chase Kletsky, and Dr. Bob Wood. Not to mention intriguing works by Eve Lorgan and Laurie MacDonald that deal with truly bizarre phenomena. I'm proud to publish such high quality and original works, and there are several amazing books about to be released over the next few months. Go to richarddolanpress.com to learn more.
Did you know that when you're on the road with limited data or Wi-Fi available, you can still listen to every minute of Fade to Black by just calling 605-562-4482. No smartphone, app, or internet needed. It saves your data plan and no extra cost if you have unlimited minutes. Just call 605-562-4482. You can listen to me, Jimmy Church, on any phone, anytime, anywhere. Go Beckley Tappy.
You want to know a secret? I love ponies. I really love ponies. I'm serious. I couldn't stay sane without ponies to brush.
Why fade to black? Because you never got that pony, damn it.
This is Fade to Black with Jimmy Church on the Game Changer Radio Network and KGRA, the Global Radio Alliance.
Welcome back to Fade to Black. Tonight, Whitley Strieber is with us. Tomorrow night, Russell Targ right here on Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Let's get right back to Whitley. Before we run out of time, I have got too many things I need to ask. Whitley, one of my favorite subjects is lost civilizations, Giza, Göbekli Tepe. You hear me say it all the time. With the visitors, were you able to come to conclusions about any of the strange megalithic structures around the world that we just can't seem to explain?
I never engaged with them about this subject to my knowledge or to my memory. However, when I was a child, I may have, and I detailed some of those memories, if they are memories. And, you know, when you're a child and the strange things are happening, heaven only knows what you make of them. And you try to put it together later, and it's very hard. So I don't know. But when I was a child, I remember meetings somewhere with what I perceived as a nun, and may indeed have been a nun. But it may have also been connected with this in some way. And during one of these meetings, there was a very extraordinary journey, which was like a living journey through time. And looking back on it, it is about a series of moments in time in which great extinctions occurred. And in each case, the extinction takes place, and over the years that follow it, a new world is born that's much better than the one that was destroyed. And I sensed the presence of an enormous process of some kind that had about it a kind of consciousness that was larger than what we know and understand as consciousness, but that had the best interests of all being very much in mind, and that this was happening again, and we were in it. And in my adult life, I began to do some research into this, and I found some fascinating parallels between where we are now and what was happening as the age of the dinosaurs came to a close.
Mm-hmm.
In the latter part of that age, the planet was very stressed because of the presence of so many large creatures on it. There was a lot of drought and change taking place, and the dinosaur population on Earth was in general decline for a couple of million years before the asteroid or meteor struck and brought it all to an end. And then, of course, a more advanced form of creature came out of the rubble, mammals. Now, 2.8 million years ago, what we call Central America, that land bridge, rose up out of the oceans. There was an equatorial current at that time that went through where Central America is now that kept the planet essentially seasonless and moderate. It didn't have a lot of ice on it. It had very moderate seasons, and there was an immense amount of animal life thriving, including creatures that would eventually become human. When that land bridge rose, everything changed. The ocean currents were deranged. Seasonality occurred, and heavy seasonality, and a bigger season of ice ages began to rise and fall, where ice would cover the planet for 100,000 years, and then for 10 to 15,000, 20,000 years, it would be like it is now. And this cycle was born. And in the context of this cycle, extinctions began, and the number of different species on Earth began to decline. And just as right at the end of the dinosaur era during its climax, some, by dinosaur standards, brilliant dinosaurs like Struthomymus came into evolution because they were responding to the stress, to the planetary stress. The genus was responding to it by increasing its intelligence. That happened to the mammals too. We are the brilliant little dinosaur of the climax of the dinosaur age. The climax of the age of mammals is us. Now, that climax is proceeding very rapidly now. We are in the end of the extinction event. Creatures are going out of existence by the thousands every year.
Every
species.
day. Yes.
We're going down the road. And what is going to happen is this. Looked at on a larger scale, somebody who understood all of these things created a calendar, a long count calendar we call the zodiac. And that calendar identifies age by age what will happen in each of these ages. I don't necessarily believe that in astrology in an absolute way, but I do believe that whoever created this calendar understood the evolution and changes taking place on this planet better than anyone alive right now does. Because you look at the age of Pisces, little fish swimming in the water. The water is the womb of Earth, the waters of the womb. And the fish is completely safe, given everything it needs to survive as it grows and changes in the waters of the earth. But now, the womb is full. Mankind has completely filled the planet. The waters of the earth are not clean anymore like they were. They're getting dirtier and older. The planet is getting stressed. We're going to be born into a new age, into the age of Aquarius, which is an age at once of chaos and of discovery. And the little fish is going to be poured out onto the land. He's got gills. He's got no feet. How does he survive? Well, we'll find out. And in this sense, what I'm describing here is a very large-scale way of thinking about reality. Now, let's go back to some of those places you're interested in. Göbekli Tepe, the Sphinx, and the Great Pyramid all were created at the same time, about 10,500 years ago. And I'm not really at all interested in the BS artists who believe the pyramid was created later. It wasn't. I'm sorry. Neither was the Sphinx. They can go back to the University of Chicago, close the door, and have someone come and scrape Egyptologists off of their doors, because that's not what they are.
You got that right.
They're living in an imaginary fantasy.
Yes, they are.
So we had these extraordinary monuments created, and when were they created? Just at the point when an extraordinary, incredibly powerful upheaval was taking place on this planet. We don't know its full dimensions or extent, but we do know that flooding was extensive. We do know that at that time was when a lot of the large mammals on the planet disappeared. It was the climax of the Pleistocene and the beginning of a period called the Younger Dryas. And it caused a megadeath on this planet. Human beings survived. And what those human beings were like, you look at the Sphinx, you look at the pyramid, you look at Göbekli Tepe, and you reflect on what was being done there. We've only excavated a tiny amount of Göbekli Tepe. It's a huge series of mounds still unexcavated. And the thing about those mounds is these monuments were built and then intentionally buried over a period of at least 1,000 years. Can you imagine that? Can you think of anything we have done in recorded history that was a consistent engineering project lasting 1,000 years?
Or longer.
Or longer? We are in a different zone of reality from then. We are in some ways bigger, but in some ways much smaller. We are very, very narrowly fixed on a much smaller time frame. We don't know what they are or were because we don't know what we are or will be. And it's a remarkable thing. We are a living mystery. And those monuments are testament to the power of that mystery.
It's a testament of how much or how little we know.
About ourselves.
About ourselves. It's the most frustrating thing for me, Whitley, is to have somebody tell me how it was 3,000 years ago. 5,000 years ago, 3,000 BC. They weren't there. There's no records of anything. Nobody knows anything. And all theories and all speculation should be on the table, and let's discuss this. Because
you
nobody
know something about 5,000 years ago. Let's go there. Let's go there for a second.
Let's go there.
It's a fascinating time.
It is.
The old kingdom in Egypt is just getting ready to collapse, actually. The Utsi, the Iceman, is running through an alpine meadow, and it's beginning to snow.
Right.
In the Andes, glaciers are forming, but what is happening? Deciduous, temperate zone plants are being frozen so quickly that their cells are were found years later by Professor Lonnie Thompson intact as if they're like frozen food.
Yes, flash frozen. Yes.
Flash frozen. Ötzi is killed and ends up in a glacier that does not melt for 5,000 years.
That's right.
So what happened on that day?
That day.
What happened? We don't know.
We don't.
Something did.
You know, and let's stay on this. Let's stay right there, because the concept of that happening, frozen where you stand instantly, what I say it all the time on the show, Whitley, and I'm so glad you brought this up. I mean, somebody explain that to me. Just make sense of it to me, and I'm cool. But I don't know. I cannot imagine walking down Ventura Boulevard, right? Walking to Starbucks and then getting flash frozen with the Starbucks cup in my hand and being
something
found.
Extraordinary happened that we don't understand.
Right.
That's what happened.
Right.
We don't understand it.
Don't know. And
we don't know. But could it happen again? Well, yeah, because we don't know. We have no idea. But, people say, it must have been a volcanic explosion that caused the temperature to drop. Nothing we know of in nature causes temperature to drop that fast.
In seconds.
In seconds.
Yeah, seconds.
I mean, unless those mountains, the Andes, were created in an hour by being uplifted, I just don't know what to make of it.
Man, Whitley, how did you get so smart? How did you get so smart? How did it happen, young man?
You don't want to go there.
We'll save that for another show. Let's talk about Michael really quick before I let you go, and the key. As briefly as you can, just talk about what happened on that day of June 6th, and let's move forward as quick as we can.
Okay, 1998. I am asleep in a hotel room in Toronto, on what would be virtually my last author tour. My books are dying. I'm fewer and fewer sales. This is the last big author tour I will have. The last time I will ever get any significant crowds in a bookstore. There is a hardening against me that is building. I can feel it, and I know it's there at the time. And this is the last night. The next morning, I go get in the plane, and I go down to Texas. And from that day to this, I have never toured again for any significant amount. I go to a bookstore and 3 people show up, so, they don't invite me anymore. In any case, I'm there, and I've had my dinner in the room, and the tray is still sitting there on the desk. There comes a knock at the door. I assume it's about 11 or so. I've been dozing, and I get up to open the door thinking it is room service. A man walks in. He walks in very quickly. He goes right past the desk, goes over to the window, and turns around and starts talking. During this process, I think at first he's the waiter. Then I think he's not the waiter. Then I think, oh, God, it's really late, and it's not 11 o'clock. It's later than that, and I've got somebody in my room. And there's a rule of thumb, no fan who comes into your room after midnight is good news. And that is, if you're a writer or anything, or any kind of person with a public persona, you can be certain that's always true.
Yeah, pretty much ever.
So I want to throw him out. Then he starts talking. He talks very quickly, and he says something about the Holocaust that absolutely floored me. He said that the Holocaust was why that a child who was killed in the Holocaust would have discovered the secret of gravity. And because that child was killed in the Holocaust, we're stuck on the planet. We can't leave. And if you think about the meanings of that, the Holocaust, we did that and let that happen. And therefore, the door to the universe was closed to us by the death of this genius child who we don't even know who he was. And he hadn't made his discovery yet, but he would have. And that's, of course, the key to space travel, of high energy, high intensity space travel, is in large numbers is controlling gravity. If we knew how to do that, we could go to the stars and we could find other planets in large numbers. We could do it, but we can't. Now, he said that, and these thoughts all immediately raced through my head, and I thought, wow, this is interesting. And so we started talking. And we talked for about 45 minutes, and it was the most incredible conversation I ever had in my life.
How old was he?
He's sort of agelessly over 60, I would say.
Okay.
And he seemed perfectly normal. I didn't worry about it. He left, and I recorded in the book something weird that seemed to happen. I thought I drank some kind of liquid. I thought I was sort of put to sleep, in other words.
Yeah, he offered you something, didn't he?
Yeah, or didn't, I don't know. But in any case, maybe that's my mind trying to explain to itself why after this peak experience I would just quietly go to bed and go to sleep and not even try to get his address.
Right.
Which is what happened. And the next morning, the first thing I thought was, I'm going to call that guy. Then I thought, well, wait a minute, who is he? I don't know. So I called Ann instead because I thought it's one of those experiences, and I know myself all too well. And I said, Ann, this happened. I described it. And I said, never let me decide it didn't happen. Because when you're face-to-face with high strangeness experiences, you have to work not to let them slip out of your mind or slip away from you in that way. And so for the next 2 years, Ann kept after me about it. See her importance in all of this? If I hadn't met Ann, none of this would have happened, I don't think.
Right.
And she was an essential ingredient anyway. She would come back to me with this. And, what about that guy? What about what he told you? You need to get it all written down. And I finally decided, well, I will write it down. And I thought, I'll never remember any of this. I had a little cryptic page of notes, part of which I had taken with a scientist in Austin I knew. And part of them I'd written down, I think, in the room in Toronto. But in other words, there were notes about two entirely different things. And they don't make any sense anyway. But then as soon as I sort of took them out and looked at them, the sort of scribbles on the page, I remembered it very clearly, and I wrote it down in a day, 2 days maybe. I wrote every word down just as it happened. It was like he was right there in the room telling me it all again. And that's the origin of the key.
Was he, now that it's been almost 20 years since that happened. This is 2016 now. Was he real? Was he human?
Sometimes I think so, and sometimes I don't. I can't pin that down. I wouldn't have called Ann the next morning and told her not to let me decide it didn't happen if there hadn't been things about it that were strange.
Right.
In other words, I remember him very well. I remember him as human. But at the same time, there was something off somewhere. I've often wondered if someone had taken a picture of me while I was talking to him, what would have been on the film.
Right.
I don't know is the answer. But one thing is very clear, that the message the guy had was phenomenal. I mean, that explanation of sin, denial of the right to thrive, is the most brilliant and morally pure explanation of this mysterious thing that we do that we think of as sin that I've ever heard.
Right.
You can really become a very ethical human being by taking that simple phrase to heart.
Did he, I kind of want to stay on this for a second because I'm wondering if he was not us, and I'm being serious about this. With his dress, and did he Did he dress like us? What I mean is, did he dress like a human being, or was he dressed?
I'm always tempted at a moment like this to say, "Well, no, he actually dressed a lot like Ming the Emperor, Flash Gordon,
right?
or
Yes,
something."
yes.
No, he was dressed in a gray pullover, like a sweater, a light sweater, and gray pants. He was very simply dressed. I wouldn't have. There was nothing unusual about his dress.
Yeah. So he wasn't offensive. He wasn't.
No, fairly close-cropped gray hair and a very kind face that looked a little old. He looked a little old. Maybe 65 to 75, somewhere in there, and aging well.
Did you think you could have taken him if you were?
Yeah, I did. I wasn't scared of him.
Right.
Because he was slight.
Yeah.
And I did think I could take it, actually.
It had to cross your mind because...
It did cross my mind.
Yeah. Now, have you, over the years, have you ever caught a glimpse of him as he walked past you on the street? Any other contact?
Oh, how I wish.
Yeah.
No. I asked around in Toronto as much as I could. I went involved with the Mi'kmaq Indians, who were a very strange tribe of Indians in Newfoundland, and I talked to some members of the Templar Order up there, and I never could pin it down as to who he was. One of the Templars thought he was a Templar. There's a lot of interesting, strange, esoteric stuff in Canada, and they're very secretive about it, most of it. So, but I never was able to find him.
Really quick before, and I'm going to thank you right now for coming on tonight. Thank you so much. But what can we do? Whitley, is there something we can do to avert or curtail Mother Earth doing a big burp on us? And
not anymore. We're done. It's over. It's going to happen the way it's going to happen now.
So that's it.
Well, some of us will survive, and some of us won't, and it's going to be quite an upheaval, and it's going to last for a couple of 100 years, and it's already starting, and it's going to become manifest in very obvious ways pretty continuously from now on.
You know what's funny? You know what's going to be around 10,000 years from now? New York City's gone, right? Whatever. Those pyramids are still going to be standing.
And they're still going to be there. Yep, that's right.
And they're going to have the same questions then that we do now. And
we are coming into a truly remarkable experience. Do not be afraid of it. Every baby going down the birth canal is profoundly concerned because things are changing. But the baby is born, and the baby wakes up and comes out into a new light and a new life. And as far as these visitors are concerned, they're midwives. They're here to be sure we are born alive, as we will be.
Thank you, Whitley.
You're welcome.
Thank you for all that you do, and I can't wait to get you back on the show. Be safe. And keep rolling that rock uphill, young man, okay?
Okay, I will.
I'll talk to you. Whitley Strieber, everybody. Thank you, Whitley. Have a great night. Whitley Strieber, how was that? Thank you so much. Let's take a quick break. And that conversation was everything that I thought it would be. And I hope that everybody tonight learned something and walked away a little bit more enlightened. Whitley Strieber. Absolutely amazing. This is Fade to Black, bespoke radio for the masses. I'll be back right after this short break. I'm going to open up the phone lines, 323-825-5045. I'll be right back.
Vivica Fox here, and you are listening to my boy, Jimmy Church, on JimmyChurchRadio.com.
Despite popular opinion, reading a book will not make you smarter.
But listening to Jimmy Church will.
Not being able to fall asleep is so frustrating. The tossing, the turning, the adjustment of pillows and blankets. Eventually you just decide to get up and start your day really early. It doesn't have to be this way though. Power Sleep is an all-natural non-prescription formula that will help you sleep like a baby. It contains neurotransmitter nutrients that promote the production of serotonin, which is responsible for feelings of well-being. Power Sleep is easy to digest and absorb and is made in a base of active probiotics. Don't miss another night of sleep. Order your Power Sleep at EnergyWave.com or call 800-TURTLE-5. Add Power Vites to your cart while you're browsing. Perfect for Monday mornings. They're a complete multivitamin and mineral formula that will give you the energy you need to get through your day. Nourish your immune system and feel great. Get all the info and place your order at EnergyWave.com. Enter code word SLEEP to get free shipping. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Hello, Fadernauts. Are you looking for the ultimate Bluetooth speaker system? Well, check this out. The Studio Dome surround sound system, featuring the Studio Dome 1 SD1 and the Studio Boombox SBB wireless Bluetooth speakers, is the perfect way to get surround sound without all of the cable headaches. With its own hard shell custom carrying case for taking your surround sound experience on the go. Each hard shell case comes packed with an SBB, 2 SD1s, cables, and power. It's just $99. And you use the promo code Jimmy, and you get yourself some free shipping. Once again, Studio Dome brings you the best deal on the net. Anywhere. Just go to the Studio Dome banner, JimmyChurchRadio.com, promo code Jimmy. Go Beckley Teppy.
It's not a lifestyle we chose. We were born this way. KGRARadio.com.
This is KJCR at JimmyChurchRadio.com.
All right, welcome back. Fade to Black. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Thank you to Whitley Strieber. That was one of the great shows, and that's there you go. He's a true American treasure. And I want to remind everybody, his new book is The Supernatural, A New Vision of the Unexplained. It's co-authored with Jeffrey Kripal, and it is an analysis of why the paranormal is real, but radically different from what is conventionally understood. Okay, go to unknowncountry.com, subscribe, check out Whitley, do all of that. He's just absolutely amazing. And the other thing is, Amazon.com, and we'll have some links up to everything for Whitley here shortly. All right, thank you, Whitley. Unknowncountry.com. I do it all the time. Let's go to the phones. Phone lines are open, 323-825-5045. Dino, what did you think of that conversation?
Oh, all the Fadernauts and myself agree that was one of the great interviews. Whitley has such a calming voice, and if he's still listening, I was going to try to catch him on air to tell him that one of the main reasons that I listen to your show and I've done the research that I've done the last few years is because of his first book, Communion, and that when I met him at a conference all alone, it wasn't even backstage, I was going to remind him that I had told him that I bought the book because I had watched The Tonight Show, and I told this story last year, and I didn't want people to think I was making it up, and I was going to confirm with Whitley, but he told me when Johnny was alive that it was not for general knowledge, what he told me. And I said, well, he didn't make fun of you. I said, I was just lying in bed after work watching The Tonight Show, and Johnny was known for making fun of people he thought were off, but he didn't make fun of you. He did a serious interview with you. You looked nervous, and it was the first time I'd heard of you. So I bought the book. And he said, I'll tell you why Johnny didn't make fun of me that night on The Tonight Show, which led to me buying the book. He said, because Johnny and Joanna they used to go out in their boat, and they lived in Malibu, and he loved the water, and he said they had seen UFOs flying in and out of the water and around their house in Malibu, and that's why he took me seriously.
Oh, that's interesting. I remember that Tonight Show. I can't even believe you brought that up. I remember that Tonight Show episode, and that, and I talked about it at the beginning of the show. The country, the hysteria that was behind communion in 1987. Unless you were there, you just don't get it. I mean, that was an enlightening period for everybody. 1987 was a crazy year, and everybody was reading communion. Everybody was talking about it. And I did just that, man. I remember being over at my friend's house, and I looked down, and there's the book, the hardcover, sitting there, and I stole it. You know, I can't remember if I borrowed it or if he gave it to me, but he never got it back. And I read that thing so many times. I read it 2 times, Dino, in like 4 days. I finished the book, and I flipped it over and started it over again and read it through, and it was an incredible thing. And I don't know, and I did want to ask Whitley this because it's I don't know if it's appropriate or not, but when you're writing a book like that and you go through the experience that Whitley did, and you write the book, you don't know. Nobody knows the future. You don't know what effect it is or the impact it's going to have on everybody. You hope that it does, and you hope that people read it and they can connect to it. But I can tell you what he didn't expect was to have it not only, number one on the New York Times bestseller list for so long, but the impact that it had worldwide. It affected everybody. There's nobody anybody that's ever read that book is not going to say that book didn't affect them. I don't care who it is. That book affected everybody. And
heck, all you had to do was look at the cover. I mean, it chilled me. It used to give me a chill reading the book. It kind of scared me. I'd read it at night because nowadays I'm a little bit more thick-skinned. I've heard people on your show. I've been to Contact at the Desert. So I can fathom some of this stuff and see it as probably a reality, but maybe one that you don't have to fear. But that cover with that woman, he called her the Great Woman, on the cover there, just, it goes to your soul. You talked about it earlier. And so anyway, that was the other thing. And the other thing I was going to ask Whitley was what he said, I think, in the second book, was when it was in a bookstore. It was the middle of winter in New York City, and some friends told him that they went into a bookstore in downtown Manhattan or something, and this strange-looking little couple that had scarves around them and hats on and big sunglasses, but they were only about 5 feet tall, and they overheard them looking at Whitley's book saying, oh, he got this right, he got that right. And I wanted to ask him more about that because apparently it was 2 of these beings who were incognito who went into the bookstore to look at the book.
Oh, I've never heard that. That's interesting.
Yeah, he wrote about it.
That's interesting. Well, there was something else that I was going to ask Whitley about the cover, but I just kind of wanted to move on. Only because, you know what, he's been dealing with that book cover forever, and I just didn't want to go there. But there was something about it looked, and I could be wrong, but I remember it looking like, I know this sounds weird, like wood. Like leather, like this wood kind of thing. And that had, for me, that had something to do with it. Almost like maybe totem pole. Am I sounding right? Like some kind of wood carving. And that,
very weathered, yes.
Yeah. And that
like
had,
an old ship.
And something from the past. There was something about it that, and I don't want to seem like I'm, esoteric or getting out there a little bit, but I'm saying that there was something about it that was wood-like and leathery wood thing. I don't know. It wasn't, and this is the other thing too. It wasn't some accurate depiction, like a photograph. That's not what the cover was. It wasn't like a photograph. But what Whitley did with the artist, and what was his name? His name was Ted. Oh, man, I can't believe Ted Jacobs was the artist that did that. I think I'm wrong. I think I'm right. Somebody could fill me in Twitter. Ted Jacobs. And Whitley and Ted, as the story goes, and I'd ask him about this, he said that there was 2 sessions. There's probably 2 8-hour, 12-hour sessions. But Whitley and him went over this in stages until the book cover was done. And Whitley said, that's what I want on the cover. That's it wasn't meant to be a photograph. I think it was meant to be, that is what he saw, and he wanted that emotion to get through to the reader. Do you follow what I'm saying? And it did. It did just that. There's something about it. It's not a photograph. It's an image, right? Are you picking up what I'm putting down, Dino?
No, it froze in your mind. I mean, it was like it was almost 3-dimensional looking at that cover.
I wanted to convey this to everybody, but when I read it the first time, this is what I would do. I would read 20 pages, and I'd flip back to the cover. And then I'd go back and read another 20 pages, and then flip back to the cover. And it was a cyclical thing that I went through. But that's what did it for me, man, and that book freaked me out. You know what? And even though I know he was disappointed in the movie, I get that. You're never going to write a phenomenal book, like Communion, and go through those experiences and then have Hollywood, hit it on all cylinders. It ain't gonna happen. It's just not.
Yeah, but still, Christopher Walken with that New York accent, when that one scene, when they were bringing him up and they started to do something to him, and Christopher Walken's face when they were going to probe him, and he goes, "How dare you?" That was a great scene.
I'm telling you, I enjoyed the movie, and the movie, and there was something else I want everybody to pick up on what Whitley had said tonight. He said that he was a horror writer, right? That's what he did. And that even though Communion is nonfiction and the movie to me is a documentary, I'm always going to go there. But the horror, the fear of what he must have been going through was conveyed in the book. It was done exactly, right and correct, and it was also completely clear in the movie that Christopher Walken was terrified, and that I'm telling you, the book and the movie to me, I thought that the movie did a good job. Was it perfect? No. If I had written Communion, if I was Whitley and I saw that movie, I would have been pissed off too, and I understand why. But in the same context, the effect and the message, I thought that the movie did just that, and.
Well, you mentioned that, and it certainly was a better job than what they did with Travis's movie. And certainly, as you mentioned, Whitley did kind of a suicide by, unlike Charles Hall, who brought out his book as fiction first, and he wasn't known in Hollywood. I mean, Whitley was known. His career might have gotten bigger writing horror, and indeed some people thought, he just put it out as reality, but he's really a horror writer. He made it up, much like people accuse Carlos Castaneda of doing with the Don Juan books. But the thing that I wanted to tell Whitley, if he's still listening, is don't give up on the books, because with Robert Dean's passing and some of the greats passing, Whitley has a style. I mean, the Fadernauts were commenting tonight on chat about how calming and how engaging you are listening to him. He doesn't have a big ego. He doesn't have a style that puts you off. And we need people like him to open up for the folks who are just starting to get turned on that this might be a reality. I think his time of shame has passed, and I think he could have a second rise by putting out more reality books. Maybe this one didn't do well, the last one, but Whitley, your presence and who you are can really educate a lot more people still.
Yeah, and I can't imagine, and he's touched upon it a little bit tonight. I can't imagine what he went through, not only mentally and physically with what happened at the cabin in New York. That's one thing, and he learned to accept it, and not accept it. That's the wrong word.
Cope with it.
I think no, that's actually wrong too. No, I think how to do it. That's the word I wanted. How to do it. How to make the contact. How to make the connection. How to meditate correctly and accept what he was put on this earth to do. That's an amazing amount of responsibility that was put on his shoulder. But what he didn't know is that communion was going to take off. So then you have this immense amount of success. You have money, you have television, you have the book tours that he's talking about, and then all of that stops. And if it's slowed down, I should say, and maybe if it would have been in the other direction, where it ramped up on him over time, over 20 years, then it would be a different thing today for him. But he went in the opposite direction, where he had an immense amount of success, an immense amount as an author, and all of those things that come with it. And then it slowly went away, and that's got to be frustrating. And he experienced it. I don't know what that experience is like, but you're right. He should never ever give. He's not going to give. When he said it's the last book he's ever written, that guy's got 20 books left in him.
Yeah,
and he's got to keep it coming. There's no doubt about that. I think his fiction, the Alien Hunters stuff, I thought it was great. I mentioned to him earlier. I can't remember when I did this. I said to him today, I think I said it was 3 months ago or 6 months ago, but something tells me it was longer than that, because he didn't remember doing it, which was he had read on Unknown Country, on Dreamland. He had read 2 chapters, the first 2 chapters of the first book. And it took him like 30 minutes, or maybe it was a half hour or 30 minutes. I can't really remember. But I was listening, and it was an amazing book. And I'm listening, I'm like, man, this is what writing is all about. His fiction is extraordinary. He is able to paint that picture for you. I mean, he is when it comes to that kind of stuff, I don't even know if he realizes how great it is. It's really good stuff. And, man, he's got to keep his foot on the gas there. And I told him that. I said, man, when you had, when I'm listening to your, you had read he said, no, I never did that. I was like, no, but you did. He goes, I don't remember. It must have been a while ago, but I don't remember doing that. And I said, no. Then I started to think to myself, was it another book on tape that I was listening to? But no, I remember specifically it was on Unknown Country. So there you go. Hey, Dino, I'm going to take another call here, brother. So have a great night.
A phenomenal evening. We're going to be awaiting more of them to come on Fade to Black.
Thank you so much, man. We got a great night tomorrow night with Russell Targ. So we'll see you tomorrow, Dino.
Good evening. Sleep well.
Take it easy. Hey, Adam, how are you, man?
Can you hear me good?
Yes, I got you, Adam.
I just was listening to the show tonight. I've always loved Whitley Strieber's books, and it was a great interview. I just wanted to call in. I didn't get to ask a question, but I had the chance to have some hypnosis sessions with Bud Hopkins myself.
Oh, really?
That Whitley did. Well, I'm a lifetime abductee.
Bud Hopkins. Hey, Adam, you don't mind if I keep you on for a couple of minutes and ask you about that? Is that okay?
No, that's cool.
I think Bud Hopkins was the man. Okay, so let me just go on record right there. And love Bud Hopkins, and I miss him. But what was that like, and how did you contact him?
Oh man, me too. I miss Bud very much. Well, this goes back to the early '90s. I had periodically been aware of my experiences off and on throughout my life. I know we're short on time here, but I I read the book Intruders in the early 90s. This was 1993.
Right.
And it just said, contact me. He had his, his address in the back of the book, and I just called him. But I had been remembering all these extraordinary experiences, and it just wouldn't relent. I kept writing it down, and he just became more and more interested in my case as I talked to him on the phone. And finally, I went up to his art studio, and I met him in New York.
Was that now? Look, I mean, Bud. There's a couple of sides to Bud out there, and I'm going to ask you about that in a second. But I'm going to tell you one of them. The one side to Bud that just I have so much respect for everything that he did is he was about no BS. He wanted respect for this. He wanted respect for the abduction experience, for ufology in general. He didn't want anybody to lie or to misrepresent, and he was about integrity to his very core. And is that how you remember him?
Yes. Absolutely. Bud was a person of great compassion. He really cared about the abductees he worked with. He was very grounded. He was an intellectual. He was really brilliant. His writing was fantastic. But, yeah, he connected with people. People who worked with him one-on-one came away feeling like he really cared. He was your friend. And there's nobody like Bud. There's no one like him, really.
And with your experiences, and on another show, I'd like to talk to you a little bit more about this. And anybody that has had direct contact with Bud is interesting to talk to. So, but with your experiences, when did they start? And when you went through your sessions with Bud Hopkins, were they the experiences that you thought that you started with? Or were you able to go before that?
In terms of, you mean before delving deeper into memories and being surprised to find out what I learned, that type of thing?
Exactly right. I mean, you have you have your original memories, and did you go before those?
I have my experiences. I was born in 1962, so I have a lot of memories, dozens and dozens of memories, clear memories of encounters. Now with me, my memories were there before the hypnosis. So when we did hypnosis, we had 4 sessions, but we actually looked at 6 different events. And each one of those events he took me through, I did not remember too much that I hadn't already been aware of. It was more for me an experience of clarification. It's like super focusing on it and reliving it. So it becomes more clear and easier to see. But yeah, my memories pre-existed the hypnosis.
That's interesting. And so you just did it not to find out about something that you didn't know about, but it was just you needed the details.
Exactly, because a lot of times, as many researchers have noted, many abductees are unaware of their experiences, but I'm not like that. I was mostly aware of it, and in that case, when your memories go back to early childhood, I mean, I had witnesses, I had multiple abductions with people with parallel memories. I had people who were with me when I had the missing time and went to search for me, and they couldn't find me, and they had a UFO sighting. So when I met Bud, I was already 30 years old. See, I already knew that this was real. So I had sorted through that.
Let me ask you this, Adam, really quick. We've been talking about it all night, and we've all been affected by it. The cover of Communion. With your experiences, and you see Communion for the first time, and you looked at that cover, what went through your mind?
Yeah, that's interesting because, see, this predated my reading Intruders. I grew up in the 70s, and the only thing I had prior similar exposure to was watching the movie about Betty and Barney Hill with James Earl Jones on TV. So when I saw that book cover, I was not predisposed consciously to have a strong reaction. I did have a reaction to it. It was intense, I would say. you know, I think it touched something on a subconscious level, though.
Right.
I wasn't consciously making the connection at that point.
Yeah. And now listen, we're at the end of the show. What I want you to do, Adam, is I want you to write Rita at jimmychurchradio.com and send us your contact information. And of course, I've got you here, and you know what I'm talking about, so I can reach out to you. But just do that with Rita, and then we'll get you on the show, and we'll actually we'll go deep if you don't mind.
No, I would like to do that. But yeah, Whitley tonight was just amazing to hear, because I've always felt sort of a kindred spirit with Whitley. I'm a writer also, and I love the way he describes his experiences, and Whitley's the man.
Yeah, you know, and I hope everybody appreciated the way that I handled the show tonight with Whitley, because I wanted to go down a different road, and I wanted him to feel comfortable and just getting outside of the normal interview and the normal stuff that he's talked about for so many years, and get him to talk about other things. And I think that we did that tonight. I didn't want to sensationalize and sit here and talk about communion for 2 hours and what went on in that cabin. I wanted to know about him. And that's I did the show for me tonight. I'm sorry.
It was great. It was really good. It was interesting.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. And be safe out there. And write Rita right now and send us all of your information, and we'll get you on the show.
Okay, I will. I'm glad I got to call in tonight and talk to you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. Fascinating. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you, and have a good night.
You too. Wow, I love doing this show. I love doing this show. What a great evening. Wow, it just doesn't get better than that. I've got 2 minutes. I've got some stuff that I've got to get out of the way. One of them, there's a video that we have over on our Facebook page that I want everybody to go look at and make comments on. It's footage over Moscow of what it's kind of hard to explain, but the video is of 4 lights. 2 are bright and in the center, and then the other 2, and it's like red and blue, 2 different colors that are way off to the side. And it's a large. If they are all connected together, then it's a pretty large ship or something is up in the sky. It's pretty fascinating. You need to go and look at it. It was shot at the end of last month, and I don't know if it's 4 different lights. Then they're synchronized with each other, but they stay stationary, and it's high up in the sky. This isn't something low, and you need to go and look at the video. All right, go over to the Facebook page. Go over to jimmychurchradio.com. Go over to the Facebook page. Check it out, and I want your comments on it, and we'll post it tomorrow and talk about it. And the other thing really quick I wanted to squeeze in here really quick. The discovery of the world's oldest storage of fermented fish in southern Sweden could rewrite prehistory, with findings indicating far more complex society than previously thought. Now, I'm talking about 9,200-year-old settlement. We have that over on our Facebook page, too, as well. It's absolutely insane that a civilization that long ago could figure out how to preserve fish without salt. Yes. Go check out the article right now. This is Fade to Black. Our executive producer is Rita Kamarian. Show is produced by Hilton J. Paul, Mark D. Kovar, LJ3, Renee, Mark Dunbar, and Jonas. Announcers are Steve Harder, Gene Vito, and Mark D. Kovar. Fady by Dale. Webmaster is Drew, the Geek. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro is Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by KJCR for the Game Changer Network. Syndication is KGRA The Planet. Tomorrow night, Russell Targ and Lance Mungia, right here on Fade to Black. This broadcast is owned and copyrighted 2016 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network. Cannot be rebroadcast, downloaded, copied, or used anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Faded Black or the Game Changer Network. Very special thanks to Whitley Strieber. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Follow me on Twitter @JChurchRadio. Be safe. Go Backley Tappy.